tax sale, we did not get that. But since then, even if it sells through a tax sale or treasurer's deed, we do get it now. So even if we certified it in 2013, we'll still get it plus interest.
Yeah.
You have a question, Bill?
Hey, yeah, I'm curious of how the formula is to determine what the OSDs are supposed to be. This looks to me like it's taking into account what we build and what we collected. So my curiosity is, if we're have a formula that the state gives us, which I think we do, to determine those AOSDs, I don't know how this applies to that.
Well, it's what our financing is. It is used for financing.
I understand that, but the formula is pretty plain that to determine the money that's supposed to be collected here, you're supposed to go through that formula.
Mm-hmm.
And what this is telling me is that formula is wrong, that we're not collecting enough money.
Yeah, because again,
So my question
so
is,
that's why I'm saying we have to back into that the old formula to see what they did to, and that's why we need to have the figures as to when we go back into it to see how they got it. Because
that's my question. Why do we need to concern with that? Why don't we just move forward with, we know what our debt is now, we know what our interest rates. If we move forward with the formula, we should be able to determine what the OSCs are now, and the past is the past.
Yeah. How can we determine how much is going to get paid? We can determine.
That's what the formula is supposed to be for.
But our formula before shows we billed enough for it to pay it.
That formula was never updated for the last 10 years.
It hasn't been updated.
I know, but even if looking at those numbers.
Every year.
Yeah, but yes, we needed the actuals for 2019. So when we do our next budget, we'll have actuals for 2019. And now that we know we use actuals versus bills, we can get the formula. We can just apply the formula to that, what we have now, all the numbers we have now.
The way I read the formula, you can't determine your actuals until you do the formula.
So I think
that formula, shouldn't make any difference. We know what the county, what the district owes, and how that formula is supposed to apply to that. That's what I understand it. That's just my curiosity. It seems to me like we're doing a lot of work to really.
Well, that's what we're trying to do. Is we're trying to get it all to where, it's like a algebra problem.
Yeah.
And that you got to go through the steps and then to go back. But that's how I was always taught, and I want to double check it to make sure that I just don't put a figure out there and say, okay, this is what our ALS fees are going to be. It's going to be able that I can come back and prove it.
Well, I understand your statement there, but when I taught school, if the problem had
yeah, I can hear you, Harry.
If the problem had a the answer. Point of order, please.
Okay, sounds good, Harry. I can see you. I just couldn't hear you, but now we can hear you.
Yeah,
I didn't go back when the problem was wrong. I didn't go back. What I'm seeing and hearing here is the problem. The mathematical problem that was done 10 years ago is not kept up. It's wrong.
Yeah.
So why would we concern ourselves with that erroneous mathematical computation? Why don't we just do the computation today and determine what we should be doing?
Well, we needed to understand whether we over-collected or under-collected, first of all.
That's a whole different problem.
Well,
the problem today is what are the AOSPs supposed to be? If you're going to go back and determine whether they were under and over, that would be a different problem altogether.
Well, we're trying to do it all at once because if we're going to take up auditor time and lawyer time, we want to make sure that we have all of our questions answered. But in order to know where we're going, we need to know where we've been, I think. And that's just kind of the approach that I took. Yeah, we are to the point of the formula. We do know what the formula is, but historically, I don't have any information on this. And like you mentioned, for 10 years, we haven't done it. So we want to do it right. And that's why we are getting all these figures together.
Correct. That's my point. If it was done wrong before, I wouldn't care what they did. That's fine. I understand where you're going.
Director Cook.
The past is the past, we've got to get past that. We have the numbers to make calculations. They're simple, they're there. We need the calculation. We know what we should have and what we probably will get. And we have to base that calculation on this year's numbers. This loan did not exist 10 years ago. It was a different loan. We have to base everything on the present. We've got to just stop with this old stuff. It's nice to know, but we need the number now. We're required to put this number out. So we need the number now.
Anything else, guys? Harry, Terry?
I'm fine.
Okay, number two.
Okay.
Number two, you have CCAAC revisions that need to meet resolution. One of the things I came up was Bob was concerned that with our resolution, lately I've been signing off for new builds and going out and doing all the quote work for the AC, the architectural, but it hasn't been going through the board, which the board is the one that should have control, yes or no, or when I get an application, I get the blueprints, I get texture, colors, all of that. I go out and measure after they designate their lot points, where they're placed in the building, they go out and designate it. I review all of that, whereas then I sign off on their routing slip, which it needs to come to you guys first. I know you gave me, and I just assumed that until we got all the committee together to do this, it was still kind of in my hands. So I'm sorry, there's about 5, 6 houses that were built out there that I signed off and they're in the process of being built.
Well, I'm not sure if that's any reason to apologize, but any questions, guys?
Well, you know, the coronavirus thing going on, it's just, that whole committee isn't working like it should yet, but I think once we get through this issue and people aren't afraid to talk to each other, close to each other, but this easy makes it hard, and I know that, Larry has an issue with that out there with where he lives. But those guys will get active, I think, and we just have to make things the best we can do now for this situation it's over with. That's my opinion, though.
I have probably another 3 houses that they're looking at wanting to build within probably the next, or get started within the next month. I've got one that I just got last Friday after I got through the packet, and it's on Jefferson. It's another prefab. I don't know how they're gonna put it on the lot because the lot's kind of an odd shaped lot. But I've got all the color, the texture, the floor plan for it, everything like that. They just want to know whether they can start that process of going through. I said, well, the first thing you need to do is go into regional building and get that set up as to what you're going to do. And they'll be asking you for the same thing in your block plan and all of that. So it's going to probably be 2 weeks before they can get all of that together with them. Because I know how regional building is, it usually takes them 2 weeks to do their research. But going forward, I don't know how you want to continue this, and I come back to the board and say, okay, this is what was there, this is what it is. Get you guys to say yes, no. There was a couple of them here with garages and sheds that they wanted. I looked at the covenants, everything looked good for it. Their setbacks are fine. I know the first guy, he wanted to know whether the planning and stuff was right before he purchased it.
Yes.
So, the architectural advisory committee, isn't that what we formed them for? I mean,
Just for advice to the board, and the board is gonna
He's gonna do the final approval.
But isn't it their responsibility responsibility to look at the setbacks and look at all this kind of stuff?
Yes,
And currently what's happening is you're doing that.
I'm doing it right now till we can get,
Until they get set up.
get everybody together to do this.
Is there a reason that they can't be doing it now?
I know Larry, he wants to follow the state mandate. I know he's there.
Okay.
Bob, he has no problem with it. He'd be in here in a heartbeat. I don't know, Mr. Janetta, he, sounds like he wanted to kind of keep himself quarantined, so.
So right now, we're still kind of hamstrung.
Which I can probably do this with Larry and Mr. Janetta, go through a Zoom meeting and set it up that way, that we can start working through Zoom.
Yeah, cause I really don't wanna hold up, my personal opinion, I don't wanna hold up construction on our end because we don't got our ducks in a row.
And I looked at things, I went to those lots and looked at all of them after I got my, work packet yesterday morning, and they all looked good. The only one is that, Jim and I talked about, Jim said that one, tub shed has to set back 5 feet instead of 2 feet because of covenants.
That's actually county, but yeah.
Yeah, but everything else looked good, all the things looked good.
I'm not really questions as much as a couple of statements. First off, we're not worried about how the CCAAC is doing. The point that I had made with Jim was he didn't have the authority to sign off on these. Only the board has that authority. So all of it has to be brought to the board, just like it is tonight. We have 3 items brought to the board. He can make the recommendation to the board. That's what the review committee was for, just to make a recommendation. They're not signing off on anything. What I found was that the board was not signing off. Jim has been signing off on stuff to the county. And we, as a board, have to approve each one of these packets.
My question would be, and please, anybody ring in, would it be all right for us to bestow some limited authority to Jim on certain things, like setbacks, stuff like that, for him to sign off?
No.
And then it be brought to us for approval at the next meeting?
No, that's why you went this direction on placing the board as these say. He can make a recommendation, but he cannot sign off. The board locked it in with the lawyer's advice that the board is the one that does the sign-offs. So we can't bestow on him because he is not the board.
Did you have that in writing somewhere?
I've got the lawyer's report. I don't have it in front of me, but I'm sure he can produce the lawyer's report. Mr. Chairman.
And I think, in history, I guess we did, because, the other control board did their own thing, and we wanted to have the say about a lot of things, and I think, somebody, it might be a week or 2 that we have to wait to sign off on them, but I think Jim has enough good discussion, our common sense, and say, this will go forward, this won't go forward, and then we just sign off on them. That's my opinion.
So basically along the same lines that I was talking, giving him
Yes,
some
yes.
limited authority to sign off, and then we approve it later on.
Well, if it's a thing that needs to be done, he's in charge of things, and he knows our parameters, and he just says, here's what I've done, dealing with people in situations I've been in before. You just bestow responsibilities to other people, and then they use your judgment at what you would do, and then we verify it on our board meeting.
Terry, anything from you?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think it's pretty simple. Either it follows the covenants or it doesn't. And I think that if we're gonna create a committee and create, limit the district manager, and we might as well just do it all ourselves, which was part of the reason we started all this, so that we wouldn't have to. If it follows the covenants, I don't understand why, if there's a variation or a question, or somebody wants to fight what the covenants say, then I think it needs to come to us. But I'm for trying to simplify our job as long as it's done right, not complicated.
Okay. Anything?
I struggle with this, having the board have to sign off on the architectural advisory committee issues as far as the building, the whole sign-off sheet. Because as a builder, that delays them 2 weeks minimum.
Yes.
And I think I thought that we put the architectural advisory committee in place to give advice about whether this is appropriate, whether it fits within the covenants, those kind of things. And once they come up with the decision, they should be able to do it within less than 2 weeks. Then we'll be able to get it signed off. So I agree with Bob that I don't think that Jim has authority. Maybe that's something I'd look at to change, because I don't know that we can legally allow Jim to do that the way it's written currently, without some kind
And
of
then the
resolution.
next question would be, do we have the ability to rewrite it?
Well, that's,
to give him the authority?
I think we should. I think that maybe that's something we'll have to look at. I'm not so sure that I feel like we're any better. We're not gods. We don't know what's best as far as looks and that kind of stuff. And
But
it's within
Bob
covenants.
and I had this conversation too, in the sense that you can have a committee that is non-growth, I want everything the same as
Yeah.
it is, and they can kibosh, whereas the board is looking for the community benefit, and it kind of takes that out.
Mr. Chairman, 18 months ago, this process started, and I've resisted what you guys put in place from the beginning because I knew we were going to be right here. You can't ask this man to put another load on his back to do what needs to be done. If you remember later, sometime past, I suggested if you're going down this road where you were going to prove it, that you figured out how to use the funds you received to hire a person to do that rather than having a committee to bring his recommendations to you. I don't see this man doing the job he's supposed to be doing and doing that job too. That is just not fair to him. No way, I'm gonna have to step up with it. And this can be simplified without, the committee, if you're gonna give the committee the authority and have a CACC like you did in the past, they sign off on it and they make sure that you have the routing slips done. If the routing slip is done properly, your setback here would not have come to you because it would have went to planning and zoning first, and they'd have told the individual, I'm sorry, you gotta move this over 5 feet, and the plot plan would have been redone before you saw it. He wouldn't be wasting his time for this. So my suggestion is you decide whether you want your committee. If you do, get them busy. If you don't, hire him, take it over yourselves, hire an individual to help him do what needs to be done.
Exactly.
What's your ideas on that?
Mr. Chairman.
2 weeks ain't nothing in building a house.
I agree with both sides. We don't have the money to do it.
With the fees you're getting, you probably would have it. There's ways you could finance it.
The delay is not an issue. If you've looked around building in some of the other areas, you can get a sign off in 2 weeks here. That's extremely fast. I go back to, we had the ability to have a committee that signed off for the board, but the board chose to take on the responsibility. We passed the resolution. The only thing that we were waiting on was a committee to form and make recommendations to us. Now, if you remember, there was a delay between the point where we approved the resolution and had the hearing to reapprove what we had done, the public hearing, and that was about a 30-day gap. I think it stretched out to about 60, but it doesn't matter. During the delay, we gave him the right to sign off because there was nobody, and we were not at the time. Once we passed that resolution, the only ones that can sign off at that point forward is the board, because we stripped the board's previous power of appointing someone else.
Anything else? Okay, moving on.
Okay, next, property proposal, from Terry. Terry gave me something I haven't had time to really work on it. His proposal was to be consistent, fair, and process, a fair process, waste less time on repetitious issue of people.
You want me to turn this over to Terry?
Yeah, you can.
Terry, you want to take it?
Sure. It's on page 25 in your packet.
Section 3.
Page 30, okay. Anyway, I've kind of come full circle on this. I can't remember exactly when it was, probably two and a half months ago. We had a meeting at about 6 or 7 or 8 pieces of property, several different people wanted to buy them. We spent a long time in the first part of the meeting, and then we spent just as long a time in the regular meeting. At certain times, we were quibbling over, I remember one of the cases, $300. So I just kind of set down this. I think that we own so many lots. I was pretty opposed to having a realtor take care of our business for us. So we have a number of lots, and I shot for consistency, a fair process for anyone who came in, regardless who they were, and to quit wasting a lot of time on repetitive issues. And this is just a starting point. I don't know that there's anything magic about these, but I think we should base what we ask for our undeveloped lots on how many of the utilities are present. All the 3 of the utilities are present or capable of being present. And by that I mean right there. I don't mean capable like lay 6 miles of pipe. We should charge 55 cents a square foot at 2 of the 3, 45, 1 of the 3, 35 cents. If there are no utilities present, 25 cents a square foot. And again, it's to save time, be more efficient, and be fair. We all have biases and agendas. We could show 5 of us a certain piece of property, and we'd all come up with a different value for it. So this kind of just nails it down. Nobody has to even come to the board. They just have to tell Jim they want this lot. Jim says, well, 2 of the 3 utilities are there. This is what it costs.
How did that check out, Terry, with, if you took that with ones we have on the books right now, did it come out comparable to the value of the lot?
Pretty close. There's, I think, and I didn't do an extensive search, but we're going to be above what's on the books more often than we're going to be below it. All in all, we should come out ahead.
Okay, and I talked to Neil about this one time, and he said he was a realtor, and he sold some things by the square foot also. You can develop it, but I think it's a really detailed thing that we need to look at. It looks good.
Thank you.
Any other?
We probably all of you like that.
Go ahead.
I think that we certainly need to come up with it, because it just needs a little bit more work. Part of that, of course, is we have to consider there's some large lots we have out in the south part of town here, with over an acre, and that would, make those worth quite a lot more money than what they're going to be sold for.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to be able to adjust this some way in different situations. But other than that, I think, yeah, it's certainly a base point, some force to work with.
Yeah, I think another thing, just my own personal comment, would be we need to go by zoning too, as far as an R1 would sell at certain square footage, where a B1 would sell at a certain amount per square foot.
Mr. Chairman, I don't see this being workable, because you haven't run all the factors into it. And I'm going to pick on a couple of things that were said here. But before I do that, I think most of the board members know that I could be said an expert in the field, because I'm probably the only one on the board that has held the license to do this and to make these determinations. First off, real estate's based on prices. If you ask anywhere, you'll be told location, location, location. What's a street like by? Is it road? Is it no road? Is it highway? The size of the lot. Is it oversized for that neighborhood? Is it undersized for that neighborhood? Which direction does the house face? Some of the people that move out here want to face the mountain. A lot of the lots do not face the mountain. Is it in a floodplain? We see here, I think it was about 8 or 10 years ago, a person bought a house on the golf course without understanding that it was in a floodplain and couldn't get insurance on it. So, unless you understand the whole concept, it's hard to just throw numbers out there. Fire hydrants, where's the closest fire hydrants? Think you're building a home, think fire hydrants being put in near your home. But you go around this town, in many areas, fire hydrants have been removed. And when they do that, it changes the amount of insurance you pay if you build a home in that area. The quality of the neighborhood. I won't use the slang terms they use for Applewood versus Knollwood versus South Park. The quality of the neighborhood factors into the price. Are the roads paved? Some are, some aren't. Who maintains the road? In this instance, we have some roads that are currently unmaintained, some that are maintained by the Metro, and some that are maintained by the county. If you're elderly and you want to make sure you've got certain things, how close are they to the fire department? Ambulance-wise, traffic on the roads. You've got kids. Are they on the school bus route? Some people want them picked up at the house. Some people don't mind driving them or walking them up to a corner. Zoning of the lot, you mentioned that. A B4 is worth a hell of a lot more to an R1 if he wants a business. If he doesn't want a business, it's useless to him. It means nothing. The value is nothing to that gentleman. So, covenants. If you look at what we just talked about with covenants, we've got a stack of covenants. They're different in each unit, in each neighborhood. They're totally different. Size of home. I understand you build in a home, you wanted a very large home. Some of the homes, in most units, homes are restricted by size, generally, and how minimum they are, but there's been in the past talk of some that were actually how big the home could be. I haven't run into that one, but I've heard of them. I don't know if one exists within our boundaries or not. The contour of the property. I don't know if you looked at some of the lots on Red Cloud, but you're going to need a lot of dynamite and leveling or put pylon piers in 20 foot tall to make a home level on that road. That's why it's minimally built. So those lots are not gonna be worth the same as one on, Lakeview Circle. All of these things factor in. And Neil brought up a good point. What about the size of the lot? So if we take his point of a lot over on, let's say Colorado, that's south, Colorado Boulevard has a number of 1 acre lots. But are they of the same value as South Park? And I'll tell you this, they are not. And we actually own properties within South Park. So those lots over there in South Park are 30 to 50 grand a piece. So why would we use a formula that doesn't even come close? You rejected professionals setting the price, and I'm not even going to claim to be a professional at this point because I've dropped my license, because there are many factors that go into determining what a lot really and truly should sell for. If we set these prices, then I'm just going to throw a little caveat out here. Say there's all three utilities, well, we really can't count road because we passed resolutions to account for the road, but let's go with the big number. If we take that number of 55 cents a square foot and a board member holds a lot, is he willing to sell out his lot at this price? I'm not willing to sell my lots at that price. Is that then fiduciary irresponsibility to set the price for the public but not for ourselves? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anything else?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Trying to have a blanket, that's why every time this subject's come up, I have mentioned it. You need to have a real estate appraisal looked on it, whether it's a lot or whether it's, whatever it is. I have bought and sold property, and anytime you get involved, 99% of the time, they want to see a real estate appraisal. They don't want it from an opinion from an agent. That's what causes all the lawsuits in Colorado. They want to see a real estate appraisal. My trust, they will not accept opinions. It has to be a real estate appraisal. And I have bought lots in the past from CCMD and from other people way back when, and I provided a real estate appraisal. With, of course, and unfortunately, some of those were a lot less at that time than what the CCMD was asking for. Because what you're selling these lots for today is about half or a third of what they were selling them for 10 years ago. You can look your own list up. You can go through it yourself. And none of you up there are certified real estate appraisers. So if you're going to sell property that's owned by the general taxpayers of the public, I think you should use a real estate appraisal. Have the 300. The guy wants to buy a lot. $300 for a real bare land real estate appraisal isn't going to stop it.
Terry, anything?
No, as I said at the start, this was just a discussion starter. I let my proctology license lapse, so I don't, it's just a suggestion.
Okay.
If we'd rather spend hours and hours doing this, it's fine with me. It was a suggestion.
Terry, Mayor,
Go right ahead.
can I address Terry?
Go right ahead.
Can Terry hear me? Terry, are you opposed to using a real estate appraisal on each property or the use of a real estate agent on each property?
I don't know that I'm actually opposed to either. I'm opposed to with so many lots, some of them, like for instance, all the things that you mentioned, I as a buyer can look at all of those things. I just think that anything that comes out of offers when we have so many lots that just sit there is way more unfair, or not unfair, but yeah, unfair to the citizens of Colorado City than trying to move some of this property, which just sits there.
Let me,
So I don't know if I'm opposed to either or both. I just think that, you know, some real estate agents I've dealt with have a tremendous amount of integrity. Some of them want to make as many sales as they can because that's how they collect the fee. I just feel like if we have a standard in place and let the buyer, the person who actually wants to buy it, make a decision which lot is best for them, that seems like the way to go. But that's my
and I think I can agree with you there. The thing that I was getting at, Terry, is the second line here says waste less time on repetitive issues. And my suggestion, and I don't like all of it, but it is a suggestion, is if you require, and I think we've talked about this before, if somebody wants to buy that lot and we require that they throw on us an appraisal, a certified appraisal, we're not then, I can still argue about it. You know that. There's no discussion that Bob will argue about an appraisal because I'm looking to best the dollar for the community. But if they throw in an appraisal on you, say you want to buy lot 7 of unit 7, wherever that is, and that appraisal said $800, or it could say $8,000. I would be more willing to say, okay, this is an official appraisal. They paid $300 to have this appraisal thrown at us. And that's their offer, and their offer would be probably consistent with the appraisal that they laid upon us. So if we said, okay, you want to buy a lot? Give us your appraisal, or an independent appraisal. Would that help with the wasting time part?
Yeah, absolutely. I just wonder, out of all the lots we own, how many wouldn't even be big enough for we're to spend for a buyer to spend the money on appraisal.
My personal opinion is, if I'm going to buy a lot and I want to know the true value of that lot, even if I was going to sell one, I want to know what the other side is thinking. I'm going to pay $300. That's nothing in the scheme of what I'm doing as a project or an investment. Because as an investment, I want to know what the low ball number is and the high ball number is.
So let me get this straight. So what you're saying, Bob, is okay, if I came in here with an appraisal on that lot with my contract, and I said, this is it, you're gonna agree to it and say,
I
it's
did
sold.
not say I'll agree to it. I said I would seriously consider it because now I have a professional's opinion that counters my opinion.
But the thing about it though, the thing about going in that direction with it, is why am I gonna go spend $300 to have that appraised, and I come in here and say, that's what this lot is worth, and I'm gonna give it to you, and you turn around and reject me,
You would only do it if you thought that you wanted that lot. If you truly wanted that lot, for instance, there's a couple of lots I've looked at recently. And if the buyer said, I don't like your price, I would just go pay for an appraisal and throw my price at him again, saying, look, this is what the professionals say it's worth. I may haggle with him a little bit, but then I know where I'm standing in the whole discussion.
Mr. Chairman, to try to answer Jim's question, in real estate, you get an appraisal. The reason real estate goes up is because there is a buyer who's willing to pay more than the appraised value. the purpose for the real estate appraisal, a certified real estate appraiser, not an agent. There's a big difference in ours, because that's where in the sixties and seventies, where all the games started playing with the appraisers and everybody else. That's where we have the rules we have to pay. That's gonna give you a good starting point. If you send 3 appraisers, you're gonna get 3 different opinions. They're probably gonna be pretty close together. But you're going to know where you're at. And if that individual, if you come back and you say, well, I really think that lot, say he comes in and says the lot's worth $5,700, and the board says, well, we really think it's $6,000. He can decide to do that or not. You can make a counteroffer on that. He can come back and say, no, that's the way the real estate business works. But it would put, as far as saving time, in my opinion, it would give you the knowledge as a board to make a decision right then and there based on that opinion. You would be spending less time because you would have a packet in front of you that gives you all the information you need to make a decision.
Well, I agree with you there, because I can't speak for the rest of the board members, but I do know that if a certified appraiser gives me a value in my packet on a lot that's being sold, and the person is offering the amount that the appraiser says it's worth, I'm going to accept it. Simply because it's his job to know what the properties are worth. The next caveat that I might throw in here too is that it's not unusual for buyer and sellers to pick up half of each other's costs, which might be something else we could discuss. Would be that if we do sell the lot, we tell the individual it's got to come out of their pocket to do the appraisal. But if we sell the lot to them with the appraisal, we pick up half the cost of the appraisal. That gives them an incentive also to get the appraisal done and to get the lot done.
I really think you're missing. If the person wants that lot, wants that $300 to $800 appraisal is not going to make any difference. I guarantee you that.
Mayor,
Yeah.
I need to touch on this with what you talked about, because in some situations, that becomes a problem. Now, Mr. Ellis mentioned his trust. What he means by that, I don't know if y'all caught it or not, he actually owns a trust that deals only in real estate. It is a trust for real estate. It is done to keep him at arm's length on certain transactions. So therefore, when you start throwing money back in, you're no longer at an arm's length on the transaction, on that side of it. So trusts generally require an independent thing. If you're throwing money in, you're both kind of agreeing what, it's a fine line to walk is what I'm saying. You don't really want to throw money in if you want it truly independent.
Can I clarify, Bob? That is the reason that I do appraisals. That the trust will not agree to anything, me buying anything without a certified appraisal. It just will not. Won't happen. Secondly, under the contract, you could pay for half of that. I wouldn't recommend it, but you could pay half of it if you had it built in to the contract prior to the appraisal being done. Because then it's still at arm's length.
Anything else?
Well, this whole project of Terry's, to his credit, was to simplify things, and I don't think we've done that at all. I think we probably need some more input from maybe some professional people.
Next, I do have one quick question for auditors. I know we keep coming back to what's on the books, and that was put on the books by a real estate appraiser, correct?
We don't know. 20 years ago.
Okay, well, I understand that. I
The
get that.
auditors don't even know.
So,
Well,
That can't be proven at this point.
it's per our old auditors, some were picked up for taxes that we bought, some were traded, some were donated.
okay,
So there's
so
all these scenarios.
we use this real estate as assets against our loan. Okay, so if we get a real estate appraiser in here, let's say the person that wants to purchase the lot, gets it appraised, and it appraises at $5,500. He comes down here, we sell it to him for $5,500, but on your sheet, it's on there for $10,000. So how do we rectify those problems?
Based on his answer to that question and whether we have to record him on what's on the books right now, or, you know, at least our backup sheets, he said it has to be recorded, the 10,000 has to be recorded. There's no way around that. Was his answer to me, because I think Bob asked that question.
How do we fix the assets value if we want to get them more realistic? Or can we?
It's one of the things I used to do in the past. There are companies out there that do what they call asset determination. I'm sure you've used it. If you've ever done it with a city or a large company with international resources, we did that constantly because the drills and everything else for the wells was always changing in price and value. We had some old wells that were on the books actually were worth more, or not wells, drill rigs were worth more today than they were when they were purchased by the company. So that is something that was done every 3 years for International Resources. We did it every 3 years. We had everything. It was an outside firm that came in and went through all of our assets and values.
That's going to be, that sounds like a lot of money to me.
And
Probably money.
It is expensive. It was expensive, but generally it is, since it hasn't been done here since I can remember, and I've been around here a long time, I would think your asset level would actually grow, but that's something that, down the road to look at. There's a lot of other things on
Your
the plate.
asset level would also change your loan abilities. If you increase your asset level, we change our loan covenants.
I guess my basic question was here is how is this going to affect us? We start selling lots like that and not taking that into consideration.
Yes.
How is that going to mess us up?
There's actually got to be a way to readjust it. Even now, I know Jim Bill saying you can do it professionally. There's got to be some way. I don't know if there's another way other than hiring a professional auditor, the same as we do to audit the financials. We hire a professional to do that. I don't know if there's a way around that or not.
So the impacts, if we do use those costs that are higher than what we sell it for, in the property management fund, we're going to be over budget. So we're going to exceed our budget. I know it's a paper loss, but we're still going to reflect an overage on the budget, which is against state law. And if the property falls into administration department, it's going to reduce the amount of revenue that we can spend.
And that's why I have recommended in the past that become an enterprise, because then we're not locked into that budget overrun or whatever.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
This is off subject, but
Just real quick, Greg.
Oh, just one second. Yes.
I'm off topic here, but Mark Anslebar is trying to get in a meeting to discuss his request.
Oh, damn it. What the hell did I just do?
I suppose the whole thing.
No, that's right. Is it an iPhone, I guess?
Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah, I see one here that says iPhone. Okay, he's in. Okay.
Kind of off
Yes.
subject, but it's on the subject of your asset value. One of the reasons many districts increased the costs of their tap fees is because that increases your value based on the number of taps you have available, based on your AOS fees. If you have, and that's why I've been arguing over and over that you need to extend the roads and the services and make lots buildable, because now you have available taps. And in that available tap may not be worth the exact value of your selling price on paper, but But when you're putting it down in your asset value, it is an available asset to you if somebody builds a lot on there. So there is, that increases your asset value as well. So that's, with the purchase of a grader and so forth, that's a point that I think should be started moving forward on making more lots buildable. And perhaps with the, if the building boom continues, the board should look at raising tax fees.
Okay, Terry, anything else on this subject? Oh, I can't hear you, Terry. Did you mute yourself?
No,
There you are.
no, nothing else. The last 3 times that I put a bid in for some property, and none of it was just land, it all had structures on it. Lo and behold, the appraisal came out exactly what the asking price was. It's weird, huh?
Yeah.
That's all.
I know. Sometimes I agree with you. Sometimes I don't think that necessarily these appraisals are necessarily honest all the time. But, okay, moving on to the next subject.
Okay, next we had water leases for Fleming and Gutierrez. I went back, I had these two gentlemen, excuse me. If you remember back, beginning of March, we talked about Gutierrez wanting a water lease. In the past, they've charged these two gentlemen $100 for excess water that ran through their property that was owned by CCMD. Right now, the lease was, and I had him send me his old lease because I wanted to see it exactly, to see if there was any termination, if it was just a year-to-year lease or whatever that flag get in your packet ad. And I went through it, and all I could see that it was a year-to-year lease. So it isn't something that we should grant them every year. And I think the $100 is way too cheap for, even though we don't know whether it's going on assumption that they can get water or they can't, because I know that. I just wanted to bring this to the board that we need to do something with it, because I am not going to cash your checks unless the board says, yes, we can do this.
Okay, any discussion?
There's more than one, right? More than one.
Yeah, there's two of them. I just had Fleming send me his lease because Jared saw he couldn't find his. So I said, well, I just need to see an old lease of what and what the stipulations were. And
They're both virtually the same, though.
yeah.
When I
Go ahead.
look
What
at,
did they lease it before? $200 or something a month, or a lease, or what?
It was $100 a year is what they've been doing in the past year.
Yeah, but he said that was cheap. What would you consider, favorable to do?
Well, if you have a half an acre foot of water, which is about 175,000 gallons, wouldn't you say, Donnie?
Pretty close.
At 15 cents of what we charge for raw water, that's a hell of a lot more than $100.
Is that what they use? Half the acre?
Donnie, is that what we're charging?
For the raw water, we're at, correct me if I'm wrong here, $12 a pound.
Yeah, it is 12 cents a thousand, $12 a thousand.
And how many gallons are we talking about here?
100,000 gallons.
Oh.
Close to
Yeah, I mean,
about 175.
so we're over $2,000 in raw water.
It's 325,850 gallons.
Water rights and all water stuff, the state doesn't charge by the minute. You're looking at, I have a current lease on that has, over 0.6. If I look at
Go ahead, Rich.
What I wanted to point out is this lease that I've got in front of me was specifically wasn't even a year. It was April to October. And on top of that, it's an unsigned lease. So the leases themselves are totally dead. Another thing I noticed in this lease is there's absolutely no reference of legal right to the water, whether it's ours or somebody else's. There's no legal citations here. And we've got an issue called statement of purpose and a water decree. And that's not addressed anywhere. And the lawyer fees along to review a lease would be much more than we're going to possibly get. On top of that, we're already losing roughly 4.5 million gallons a month of water from the last number I got. And I've lived here for many years. I don't know how long everybody's lived here, but we generally know that March is one of our snowiest months of the year, and that's when we pack up the mountain. We haven't gotten that. So we're going to be shorter on water this year than we were last year. Now, last year we had plenty of water. I don't know what it's going to shake out in the next couple of months, but generally, when it's this dry, this early, we kind of fall back to some rains in July or so. So I would hate to pull water not knowing what's going to happen altogether. I mean, just off the top.
Go ahead.
I don't know how they deal with water around here, but generally, if you go to Cooter Valley Irrigation District, every farmer or every rancher has a flow meter that shows it because each share is allowed so much water based on the snowpack and so forth. And as if the number one got enough, he passes it on to number two and so forth on down the road. But each one of those has a percentage share based on the number of acre feet that's available and so forth. And in order to determine that, you have to have a flow meter. They're not expensive, they're not difficult. So my curiosity was, if you're going to enter into some type of agreement to sell excess water, I would have in that lease a caveat about drought. You ain't getting any during drought, just like you would have any other agricultural lease or water agreement with any of the water districts.
I believe
and you have a cost per 1,000 or cost per 10,000. Usually irrigation water is a lot cheaper than that, but you have some way to judge how much is going there and what the cost should be, and the ability within your contract, and there's lots of boilerplate contracts out there, they'll give you to turn it on or turn it off based on whether there's excess water available to them to sell it to them or not.
Terry, you got any questions?
I believe we have a flume on that already,
No, I think Terry took off.
and that water doesn't run all year.
So the flume doesn't necessarily have a meter.
No, it doesn't.
Usually you have a where that it goes to, they have the
We used to read that daily. So
We were there, and this particular source water is off the greenhouse.
So,
We don't have the ability to capture this particular water source.
my question would be, does Donnie or do you or does anybody know how these leases came about? Is it even our water to sell? Are we legal to sell it? Do we have any of these answers, questions?
they used to be able to divert it back into the headland.
But do we have any legal right to even do this?
I believe we
with our
did.
water decree review.
Yeah, at least from our understanding, and I'd have to do some more paperwork. I tried to take as much as I could today. We do own the rights to this water. I think the reason the lease came about was that this water wasn't able to be channeled over.
Easily, yeah. It was at one time.
Gotcha. So, but $100 a year?
I don't think for the whole year, I think it was $100 for. Sometimes they pay $100 for that time period and weren't able to drop. Still is the authority to say whether they can pull water or not, based upon, what was discussed in the Barbara about available water versus using line in front of you.
Okay. Gary, you have any questions?
No.
I have one more, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
In your, generally in water rights in Colorado, if, on agricultural water, does our decree allow us to sell agricultural water? Because if not, then people downstream are entitled to that water.
It depends also if it's multi-use.
Pardon me?
If it's multi-use.
Well, these guys are using it for irrigation.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. In a municipality.
Yeah,
I'd have to ask the water attorney exactly that question.
That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
This ain't even worth taking to the water attorney for $100 a year.
Even if we put it at 1,000, the lawyer fees are going to exceed it.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, guys? Moving on.
Okay, the next, I know back in December, we got our filters in. They are working a lot better now, and we thought they had froze. They didn't. There was a couple of things that were valving issues too that created some problems. If you noticed in your bills, there was the $133,000 that we paid for the filters out of the barn. As I told you in the past, we need probably about 250 to get our plant up to where it needs to be. The next step is the Profi bus and Profi net. Right now, last week we have 2 instances where what it is it's on a series right now through hard wiring. This wiring is in corrosive areas, you have chlorine, you have whatever that's going on in it. And every once in a while we end up with, like we did last week, twice, where it corroded a end or a attachment and it shuts the whole plant down. And then you got to go back and troubleshoot all the way through it to get there. With this Profinet, is each skid will run individually through the system. It isn't through a series anymore. So if I do have a problem with the Profinet on one, it doesn't affect 2 and 3. 2 and 3 can still be running. The estimate in here to do it is right at $48,000. So that's the next step of upgrading our plant to get it up to where we need it. And then there is one more after that.
We also, Jim, we need to make sure that they understand that that's the equipment, that's not the electrician to come in and pull the wire.
Oh, you're saying this is not a total price?
This is not the total price. This is
What I see here is labor and
that's
one thing. Water
That's
I'm
the equipment.
I'm just
there's $2,700 labor.
that's for them to come in and set it up and get it communicating with our computer and our system. There's a couple of main wires that need to be read that have to be bid out
So there has to be some electricians brought in.
that are going to be brought in. So you're looking probably at another 10,000 on top of that.
I guess that one of my concern is that according to this, it's labor 1 FS, tech 1 programmer. So 2 people
Yes.
for 12 days. That's $1,100 a day per person. That seems like a lot.
Well, when they come down here to fix anything that we have scheduled, it's $17.85 for that day. If it is an emergency call for them to come down and fix it, it's almost $5,000, isn't it? Yvonne?
Yes.
$1,100 per person.
I just gave you the bit of what the parts and pieces are. Like I said, there is also probably another about 10,000 for the electrician.
For an electrician.
I'm waiting for from Evopa in conversations, obviously the virus. That would need to be run by us, so then we can get it out to the electrician to nail down the cost of it.
Any questions?
It's clear it's not a, complete package, and on top of that, I find it hard to swallow another 50, 60 grand. I just don't see the absolute need for it at this point.
Piece goes down, as in Thursday, Friday last week, we're down to 4 feet in a tank, and we can't produce any more water. So if this piece of the plant does not get upgraded and fit, the plant will not operate.
What's to say that this is going to fix that problem?
It's proven each time that this will fix it, because you're going from a hardwired series network to a Profinet independent network, where one piece of the equation can be taken out of the sequence going forward, and the other two will still operate being hardwired sequence. And one piece of the puzzle goes down, it takes the whole thing with it. And the cost involved with rerunning all the hardware would far exceed this Profinet.
What did we pay for the last time there was corrosion in there? And why wasn't it changed over if we had to do a major repair?
Because the board didn't approve us to be able to do that major repair. Because the price of tank was too big, and it's the same price.
So this would,
We continue to band-aid is where we're at.
this would come out of launching fund, right?
Correct.
Roughly, so, okay.
We were aware of this when we went through the restructuring, the finance restructuring, because you were going to have to do that. So that was part of this. My point, I guess, at this point is that we just need to get the
There was-
best deal we can.
Yeah, it was, like I said, it was part of that, in that proposal, the 900, that 200 to $250,000 was going to be for upgrading the plant, which, like I said, we spent 133 on filters, and this would come in, and then, like I said, the last section, which would be the neutralization skid and getting it back where they're doing CIPs automatically that somebody had torn out in the past. That's the last part, and now we make that plant whole again.
My question real quick, how many people do this upgrade? How many companies?
With the equipment that
One.
the equipment that they chose, the Siemens, M4 membranes, we're down to one at this point, before company that services. I think it's quite possible to find engineers to install and do some of the same things, but then the cost, warranty would be voided, so it's something that would be installed by the company that makes it and done, just like everything else.
Well, they just can't void a warranty though. I mean, they've got to prove that something was done to void the warranty.
If it's not installed by their technicians, they can't stand behind it.
No, that's not correct. Warranty law does not allow a company just to, trust me on this one, been down this road. Warranty companies companies just cannot void a warranty because somebody else works on their product.
Correct.
They have to prove that that person caused the damage.
Absolutely.
Proprietary equipment has to be installed by that company.
No.
I've been concerned about a lot of these things. What I would suggest, is there a project plan that takes us from where we're at to now to where we need to be? And why is it being presented with little bits and pieces? If we have a regular plan with milestones, benchmarks, and the whole thing, it takes us from here to completion, and with costs already researched and put in place, then, the surprise stuff like Bob just showed, doesn't happen because we've got our project plan. We started with building a car, and we know how much the alternator's gonna cost, and we put it all together.
And that's what we did, was.
Well, I'm not hearing it. I
250.
haven't seen a plan, I've heard numbers, so I want to see the plan. I'll help you develop a project plan.
Oh, I've got one in there. When we started just refinancing as to what
Well, I haven't seen it.
designation as and the steps in going through it.
If I may, if you've got that project plan, why wasn't the electrical numbers plugged into this page?
Because I'm not exactly sure exactly what that is. I can give an estimate as to it, but I can't until I get it exactly from an electrician and how much wire we're going to need to do it.
I can understand that.
When we first looked at this, they didn't even know, Ecova didn't know if they could even put it into our plan. They suggested it. And they've gone through a lot of research to be able to tell us that they can do it. So this is not something that was just planned.
If they have a problem of whether or not they can do it, how do I know it's viable 2 years from now?
They had to do the research, and they did that, Bob.
Well, I'm just saying, if they put it in, they say, okay, we can do it, and then they quit offering the system or the service 6 months from now or 2 years from now, we got to start all over.
I'll tell you why, because, and it's been held off, I've held off this long because they put 2 of them in to 2 different plants now. That was back in June, wasn't it, Gary?
Yeah, and they did one like a year ago or 9 months ago, something like that.
And that's what I wanted to see is if it's proven that it is doing what it needs to do. And we're at that point where I've talked to them and they said, yeah, we haven't had the problems we had with Fortinet. Fortinet is working independent like it should be.
Terry, Harry, any questions?
No, I'm fine. We need to upgrade our system so old, we need to fix it before we don't have any water.
Well, I agree with all that completely. I just really am irritated on the idea of just having one. It is never a good idea to just have one avenue. That is a recipe for allowing them to pick and choose how much they want to make on the project. And wow, if I was the only gun shop in town, holy moly, you would not like my prices. I mean, you got to have competition. That's just, yes.
But think about it, Greg, some of that stuff that breaks down, you have to fly guys to England to fix it sometimes.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with any of you guys. I'm just saying that the predicament that we've got ourselves in is something that we really need to look hard at on a way of getting ourselves out of this.
So you're suggesting going in?
I'm suggesting ideas because this is not a good situation that we're in.
So what would be the alternative, Gary?
You don't have much of an alternative. You'd have to buy new skids. And you'd have to have a new PLC.
So
You have to
replace the plant.
basically cut the plant and rebuild it.
You keep working on the system that you have, or the system. And the price tag involved with changing equipment in that plant is astronomical compared to maintaining that plant. Now, there's a lot of parts within that plant that are proprietary to the equipment that was purchased back in 2005.
I think that part of my problem is we've got too much proprietary crap in there. We need open source stuff that we can work on, or bring in an independent, have it worked on or changed out, and not be locked into something that's gotta come from China or Germany, and we don't know when we can get it. It's the same with some of those valves and stuff. We've gotta get away from this proprietary stuff.
But we don't have the money to do that, Bob.
I don't see how we can keep going, because if we keep getting nickel and dime to death by their people.
So,
Like Greg said, if you got only one doing it, I find it hard to believe only one company does that.
there's many companies out there. We purchased from
The
Ecova.
software that we're dealing with, there's a few. We have multiple sources that we deal with our SCADA and programming. We have another one that is a back. We're talking about that needs to be upgraded. We're limited to who we can get that done from. And that's the way 99% of the water and wastewater industry is set. You pick a equipment. At the time of building this water plant, they picked this particular equipment. And now we're kind of tied to it unless we want to change out the entire system.
You know, so that it doesn't kick on.
So it doesn't kick on and off, is that what's going on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
sorry.
any other questions, guys? Terry, you have any questions?
No, sir. I'm fine.
You're fine, Harry? Okay, moving on to the next one.
Okay, next in your packet, you have resolution 0822 or 2020. This is going off of last meeting and setting up a resolution to authorize electronic meetings during emergency situations. I know there was some concerns that were brought to my attention that once this emergency situation is over, we don't want to continue going through Zoom or Skype or whatever. This is only for emergency situations that we can do it. And I figured it would be best to have it in a resolution so that way it would set the guideline as otherwise you've got to be here at the meeting.
Okay. So any questions, guys? Comments? Okay, I've got one.
Okay.
Okay, so I would love to see this resolution. Okay. I would also love to see, before we leave this meeting tonight, to make sure that we have proper groundwork on how we're going to conduct this. I know we didn't go over some of that last meeting, so I think we need to plug in some gaps here during this meeting. First of all, I personally don't see any reason why our chairman can't conduct this meeting from his house. As long as we can get all the bugs worked out of this system here. The purpose, in my opinion here, the purpose of us doing this meeting over whatever this is, Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
The purpose of us doing this meeting over Zoom is to comply with the governor's guidelines, the president's guidelines, and everybody else's guidelines that we all shelter in place and not gather in big groups. So, although we're kind of keeping ourselves at a distance in here, everybody is, we're probably following our guidelines. If we're going to do this over Zoom, is there any way to provide this for the public? And do we need to post the meetings to be held here, or can we post the meetings to be held on Zoom?
And that's what we did, is we posted it here that it will be on Zoom, on the agenda.
But you give an address to it. If it's being posted on Zoom, is Zoom the address?
Yes, that would be the address. But we, even though we still have a meeting place.
So there would still be a physical meeting.
Yeah, I would say I would be here. I'd have to be here.
Okay, so if people from, let's just pick on Bill here for a second, since he's the only one in the crowd. If Bill wants to come here with you, is there a way for him to ask questions to the board?
Yeah, you could do it like we're doing right now.
So we could set up a table here in the center.
But he also has the ability, if he did want to be here, to be at home on his laptop in the middle of the meeting, and he could raise his hand. He can do whatever to get his input in.
They did a big meeting with the state for the water workers. They had 185 people log into this. And whenever somebody had a question or needed something answered or had an answer, they typed in and gave their name and said, this is what we want to know.
It's my understanding that to avoid confusion, everybody else that I've worked with is doing this, they do not put down the physical address. They simply put the Zoom address. The meeting's being held on Zoom, here's the address and the password.
And that is the address that they use, that's the Zoom address.
Okay.
So, and that would be my suggestion anyway, too. That's,
I will not participate on Zoom. I don't want it on my computer.
okay.
I will not skip meetings. I have not missed a single meeting.
Okay.
But I will not have that on my computer.
Okay, so you're gonna be here.
Yeah. I'll be here for everything.
So if he wants to come down, keep his social distancing,
Mm-hmm.
and sit down here at this end, and you sit down here at this end, and the rest of us sit at home in front of our computers. Or if we want to come down here as directors, I don't see why there would be any problem with that. But we need to just get this all set up to where we know exactly what's happening every week.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no question. Do you have any?
I agree. No, I don't know whether I'll be here or not, but I'd like to have the option to either be here or be on Zoom.
Or be on Zoom. Yes.
The reason, and I won't mention the other board that I'm involved with, it is a fire district, but the reason they do that, they show up, they're all there, okay? But on their posting, they only put the Zoom,
So
the public doesn't show up.
So the only way the public can see it is over
Go to
Zoom.
Because
Which is another
the
option
mandate
we
is
could
supposed to be,
use.
you're not supposed to have more than 10 people. And since in their situation with their 5 board members and their fire chief and their accountant, they had 7 in there already. So that they all meet, just like they normally do. But everybody else goes to Zoom. They do not stay home, they come to their meetings. They have their chairs, you know, it's kind of funny when you look at it, the chairs are spread all over the room in there, but they're there, they're in that meeting. But the public is getting into the meeting through Zoom, and they have their 4 cameras, you can see the entire room on Zoom. And
Do we have the availability for more cameras?
well, you don't need to have, that's just an expression. You guys can
Yeah.
be here and have everything else on Zoom for guys like me. I go, okay, you don't want me here, that's fine. Now you're trying to comply with the governor's order. I can be at home and be online, type in what I want. Bob gets what he wants, he's here. All of those guys are there. They're conversing with themselves, they're having their interaction. I'm watching it from the house.
Terry, any comments? Barry?
I think the reason we're in this situation is because of the spreading of the virus, and we have to be careful. And I think a lot of places are doing this, and to have us all board members in the room is defeating the purpose of why we're doing this. And I can do the same thing. And I think the main issue is the president can run the meeting at his house. He doesn't have to be physically present, or you don't have to be physically present there because of the nature of what we're doing. And all these other places, District 70 is meeting right now tonight, and all those people are all over the county
Well, you could have,
What
you
we
could
do
have.
right now is fine. I mean, but we need to have both options. We need to have the option to be here or not be here.
Okay. So that needs to get put in the resolution then, or we need to make sure the groundwork is in there, that, directors have the right to either conduct it from the house or attend the meeting from here. We need to use the address for the Zoom meeting, so we close this to the public here. We have the public portion, the public can view the meeting from Zoom, so we use the Zoom address like Mr. Ellis was talking about. That way, the only people that are here, we stay within the 10-person guideline. If Bob wants to come here and he doesn't want to put the stuff on his computer, that's fine. Terry, is there any reason why you couldn't conduct the meeting from your computer right there?
No logical or rational reason.
Terry?
Okay. Terry.
I'll rest my case.
Yeah, he's talking to you.
You see, that's the problem. You're not getting everything over the computer, you're getting delays, we can't hear Donnie worth a crap. This is a problem. The chairman needs to be able to handle the entire meeting. Now, if he can do it and make sure everybody is heard and heard properly, that's fine. But we haven't got there yet.
Well, I think we can if we, first of all, I think we need to speak up. Okay, second of all, we just need to, I realize this ain't a perfect environment to have meetings in. We'd all probably rather be here doing the meeting. But I don't see why he can't conduct, because we can always speak up. If he can't hear us, or if something is going awry, we can stop him and make sure that he understands what's going on. There's no reason why we can't do that.
The biggest problem that I see is what we need to do as, if we are within the group, we have to have the responsibility of muting ourselves when we aren't talking, because I think that's what's happening with Donnie, is he's talking and you have somebody moving in the background, it gets that background noise, so it takes his audio down.
And puts the other one in.
And
I haven't heard anything else though, because Donnie, I don't know if you're aware of this, but when you've been speaking, your volume goes up and then your volume goes down. But everybody else that has been speaking, that hasn't been a problem.
Yeah. So it might be his thing with his
It might be my microphone.
He's out feeding the horses.
Last week, I used my laptop, I used my personal computer this evening. Circumstances at the end of the day with, I can look at the settings on it and see if it's something that I need to address.
Okay, well, you're the only person that has been doing it with. Because when Terry talks or when Harry talks, I can hear them plain and they're loud. But yours sometimes is loud and sometimes drops out. I mean, it does it off and on during the whole conversation.
Okay.
So that might be just I don't think that that's a Zoom issue. I think that's something to do with your microphone there.
Yeah, because the last meeting, you came in crystal clear and in and out. The only one that we had problems with was Greg's because of his bandwidth.
I was on a cell phone though.
And you were in a place where you were getting Wi-Fi or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Boost the signal.
I changed microphones. Is it still the same or any difference?
Actually, I can hear you a little bit. You didn't drop out during that conversation. Let's put it that way.
A couple of times.
Yeah, he did break a couple of times, but he didn't drop out like he was.
Okay. Well, I'll try to use that microphone the rest and see if it makes any difference.
Yeah, that's my
Yeah, so far that's much better.
I want a surety that if somebody's not here, that they're going to monitor and make sure that everybody is heard and allowed.
Well, somebody's gonna be here. He's gonna
I'm
be
talking
here.
about if
You're gonna
the
be
chair
here.
is gonna do it from home, then he has to monitor what's going on here as well.
He can do so with the camera. And then, like I said, I think we all have the ability to stop him. And I mean, we can all speak up. We're all adults here. We can all speak up and say, "Hey, Terry, you didn't notice something." You don't mind if we stop you for a second, do you? Okay, so,
It's a trying situation right now, we just have to, we'll go with the flow until it gets corrected, then it's gonna be great.
oh, I agree with you completely, sir. I agree with you completely, Harry. This is definitely not the ideal situation. But, go ahead.
I mean, we can communicate, and then I can hear everybody talking.
Yes.
I mean, sometimes I don't hear
Now, here we go again.
him, but that, hey, that's not a big deal.
No, it's not a big deal, because when you drop out, all we gotta do is tell you, like, you just dropped out for a second there, Harry. So all we gotta do is tell you, hey, you dropped out, can you please repeat yourself?
Yes, that's all that has to happen.
Well, we have to do it.
It's not a
Yeah.
big deal over, because we're in a short situation.
Amen to that.
Yes.
Okay, so basically in the resolution, you want via telephone or audio, video conference with the option of,
Well, not telephone, just Zoom, because telephone they can't see. So it has to be
well,
either,
we have Zoom phone too.
or, well, yeah, Zoom phone, but it's gotta be through Zoom.
Yeah, Zoom and or
Physically here
as a board.
as a board, but we close this to the public
Yeah.
and just use the Zoom address for the public to come into.
Okay.
That keeps the amount of people that are in here to a minimum. And please, anybody on the board that's got any other thing, please speak up.
I want to make sure that this is properly recorded on all screens.
Yeah, right now it is showing that this is being recorded.
I
So
want verification that it's done.
how is this recorded?
This is recorded into the cloud by Zoom.
Okay,
It's recorded there. I also have it recorded that I have it on a chip that I will post for open media to our website
that they can go to.
that they can go to. But
And
it's,
view
but
the
it's
meeting.
after, it's a delay
All
on
of
that.
the Zoom, all of the Zoom is being recorded. You're saying
Yeah.
that, I know you have a chip for that. I'm talking about all screens
Well-
of the Zoom will be recorded and posted.
Right now, and I don't know why the machine would lie to me, but it's saying that it's
I
recording.
understand that, but I don't know that he's got a usable file.
Gotcha.
That's been a problem in the past with this,
But I'm also recording it there too.
but
For
that
our-
doesn't capture
All of
this.
this, yeah.
It does or it doesn't?
It don't capture, it won't capture who's on the screen and who's talking.
It's capturing what's going on in here.
Yes.
Okay, so for this here, because you will always be here, and you will probably always be here, okay, we will have the audio tape recording.
Yes.
It will be able to pick up everybody that's on Zoom because we'll have one or more laptops in here. And we'll have the audio recorder right next to the laptop to pick up everything they're saying. We're not going to have any audience in here. So everything that an audience member is saying is going to come through Zoom. So it'll be recorded also.
Let me clarify what I'm asking.
Yes.
I want a usable file that anybody can log on to our files page, click on it and open it. Not some proprietary crap that we used to get with Sony. We needed a usable file so that when he uploads it to the page, you don't have to have special software to open it.
I'll have to check on it.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure whether I can pull it out of the cloud, put it onto a file here, take it down and
When
transfer
they watch it on Zoom, when they come, when anybody in the audience is on Zoom watching us, okay, they can, afterwards, if they need to leave for some reason, or let's just say they missed the meeting, can they go on to Zoom later on and download it from Zoom just on
I'm
any
not
old
sure
laptop?
whether it's anybody.
Or can they watch it?
Or whether it's the controller of it. I can make it public or I can make it just us.
It needs to be made public.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we need to verify that, please.
Yes.
We need to verify that for it, yes.
I'm not sure about Zoom, but my experience has been with other systems like this. What you would be able to post would be a hyperlink that would take them And then if they didn't have the proper software, they may or may not be able to watch it.
Yeah.
And that, I think what Bob was asking, he doesn't want that to happen.
So that's one thing I've got it. I never went into the cloud situation yet as to pulling that.
We'll make sure that there's a link to it, and then I understand your concern there too. But usually, and not all the time, and we need to verify this, but usually, if there's other stuff required, it will give you links to download that stuff onto your machine to meet those requirements.
I mean, people want to sit around for 30 minutes.
Well,
They won't want to do that, but it will be available.
but it will be available. I mean, I'm not saying this is perfect. By any stretch of the imagination am I saying this is perfect. I just want.
It's a learning process for all of us.
Yes. And I am completely on board with Director Cook, is I want everybody to have access to the meetings. I'm not saying this is a perfect situation, but I want reasonable access to the meetings.
The reason I asked for the chair to be here is guaranteed that the chair is going to be heard on this recorder and it's properly logged. If he's not here, one of those two fail, you don't have the complete meeting program or logged on our site. See, we host our own files.
See, and that's one of the reasons I set up Bob's camera for this, so that way we have an exterior mic out there for this. And like I said, we won't get a lot of Donnie's conversation unless
we will get it on the audio.
It should be through Zoom's file, yes, but through ours we won't.
Yeah. So we'll get it on the audio tape, and we should get it through Zoom.
So we're not getting it on our official posted video.
Yeah. So,
But you're getting the audio on everything.
Our audio.
You don't have to see Terry's face to know that he's the leader of the pack. I can hear him clearly. So I think as long as you can hear him, think about what you do before you even have a screen. Just have an audio tape of stuff. You're asking for more things. We don't need to make a new. We don't need to make it compounded just because right now we're having problems. If we're all talking to each other, it should be enough. And so that's written, and somebody's recording.
The thing is too, is with this, now we can move that camera in because we are taking a wide shot where you might only have 2 directors here.
Yeah, there'll be 2 or 3 directors, maybe 4
we
of
can
us.
move the camera in to get the audio closer to, the mics closer to the laptop too.
One of my concerns is we are not posting this audio. We've only been posting that, and you already can't hear from that machine.
Yes, but you should be able to hear from Zoom. Zoom is picking up everything in this meeting. Everything. From me, you, everybody in this room, to everybody. Actually, Zoom is picking up everybody here on Zoom better than anything else.
Because we plugged in my microphone.
Yes, but it's picking up good.
We're not getting everything. Harry has dropped out. Donnie has dropped out.
We just got to ask them to repeat. If we don't understand what they're saying, we just got to ask them to repeat. That's my opinion.
I'm going to move out of the study section.
Okay. I have one more thing.
Hold on, Harry, just if you don't mind.
I got to communicate from Green Valley, their 2020 summer guide. Normally, it says here, Jim, we are beginning work on the Greenhorn Valley 2020 summer guide and would like to reserve your advertising space in the popular supplement to the newspaper. We prepare 5,000 copies in addition to a version for subscription. The summer guide is distributed at local businesses, travel centers throughout the summer months. The ad prices are slightly different due to this distribution, with no changes from last year's summer guide rate. The quarter page black and white is 170. Please let me know at your earliest convenience if you want to make any changes. Pages black and white is 170. Please let me know convenience. I would like to have ads approved by May 15th for May 21st publication. Thank you. This was something I had got last week, and I forgot to put it, I didn't get a chance to put it in there. It was something that I ran across Monday and I said, oh shoot. So, but it's something to think about. We still have time on it. I can put it on next meeting to think, and I need to make sure what we did last year to what we did with the price difference and all of that. I just wanted to put it out there in the study session before we close it.
Okay,
And it will be on next meeting.
so let's close the study session, and let's open the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of Colorado City. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If anybody would like to join me in a moment of silent reflection, please do so at this time. Okay, so quorum check. Let the record reflect that all the directors are present. Me, Director Cook, are present here. Neil is present here. And then on Zoom we have Terry and Harry. Approval of agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I have a motion to approve the agenda. Do I have a second?
I second it.
I have a motion to approve the agenda and I have a second. Any discussion? Everybody in favor, vote. Everybody in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Moving on to approval of minutes.
Mr. Cook brought it to my attention, I did not put any minutes in for the March 31st meeting since we did not have a quorum. We did have a directive from Mr. Cook to have a special meeting, which I will have a set of minutes drawn up for that for the next meeting.
Okay.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the work study session for March 10th, the regular meeting for March 10th, and the special meeting April 17th, or April 7th, 2020.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the minutes for the special meeting of April 7th, or I'm sorry, special meeting of March 10th and the regular meeting of April 7th.
No.
Or the other way around. Sorry, other way around. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'll second it.
Okay, I got a motion. I got a second. All those in favor?
Oh,
Any discussion?
yeah.
Go ahead.
When are we going to have the other, minutes?
I will have the minutes next meeting for the March 31st meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move to amend the motion to include the, to designate that the March 31st meeting, minute will be in the next packet.
Okay, would you mind that, Harry? I believe you did the motion. That's okay?
It's okay.
And Terry, you seconded it?
I'm good with it.
Okay, so got all that down? Wait, everybody in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, minutes approved. Moving on. Bills payable, it looks like.
It will be your section 8 under the red tab, second red tab of your deal.
Mr. Chairman? I'd
Yes.
like to speak on this.
Go right ahead, Bob.
Can you hear me, Terry and Harry?
Yes?
Okay, there's numerous, I don't want to say documents, but notations in these, payables. Again, it appears that we're just shopping willy-nilly, and we have to do something to get our purchase order, system corrected. I would also like to note that some of these need explanations. First one that needs some explanation is Hatch Company, water treatment plant, $8,700.
That is our SCADA system and programming. We had a loss of programming, a card went out, middle of March
Yeah,
on a Sunday.
yeah, the card was part of it. Wasn't that part of the turbidimeters as well?
Roger, yes.
Roger, I mean, there was quite a bit there.
What kind of card went out?
It was a card within the SCADA system itself that
Works everything. It just,
How do we
Circuit
lose
card.
programming on a card?
the power goes out almost weekly up there. We lose a lot of electronics because we're not backed up.
I can understand losing the card, but the programming, if it had programming, would have been backed up.
Should have been backed up.
yeah, and it was backed up, but to get to it,
You have
you
to
had
have,
to get him to get into the computer remotely to bring it back
Reload
to
it.
reload that
And
card.
they charge $8,700.
That is also, there was also 3
turbidimeters
meters that were
purchased because they
purchased
wore
to
out.
replace in too.
And see, we're not getting completes on these, what is actually going on to get through that. So it wasn't just a programming issue. The programming issues don't cost us.
No,
So this is programming and
and parts.
And parts.
Yes.
there was, I'm assuming the parts exceeded the programming.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
By
yeah.
far.
Why was there not a breakdown, something to give us some knowledge here? Next is, I've got another one circled, LL Johnson Golf Lift, premium. So now we're buying, I would assume, premium tools at $8,000.
That is part of the CTF funds that we, of the $120,000 that the county has given to us, we decided that we didn't need the greens mower. And I talked to them, they said you can use it as long as it isn't for salary, as long as it is for machinery for your golf, which we had a mower in there for $23,000, which we don't need that one mower. So we figured, well, we got the money, let's put it on stuff that we can use. One would be a lift our carts, our mowers up when we change reels out, and use it. It would be beneficial all the way around. We also are looking at a service cart for it with the lift, which still keeps us under $5,000 of the $120 that we are.
So this CTF funds, as you've explained it, is it to be used only in the golf course?
Yes, this was,
Then let me ask this question, why haven't we applied for CTF funds for parks?
we will this year. I'm
We
looking
will, why haven't we?
because this is one of the things that was on the radar that I had brought to me, that our golf carts were 20 years old and we needed to look at getting golf carts. And
I think at the same time, we discussed electrical upgrades in the.
that was after July, when I needed to put this in July.
Next, I've got, repair brakes, tires, oil change.
That was Gary's truck. He had a line break on his brake line go out.
Yes.
The brake pads were bad on it, and the tires were bad. So while we were doing it, we had it all done.
And thank you very much.
Where did you shop that? Yeah.
I was lucky to get it off the highway.
Where did we shop it at was the question.
We didn't shop it because I'm not gonna pay a tow bill to take it to town on top of that amount of money to get it repaired, so it stayed in the valley.
Windshield for a backhoe. I don't have much of a problem with the price there, other than it's spread over. The problem I've got is it's spread over 3 departments, 2 of them of which are enterprises and 1 is not. We have to be a little more careful, I think, on our accounting there.
Donnie, do you have something on that?
I believe we, and that, Bob may be correct in that aspect, that I put it, I think when I designated the AP part of it, I put it to roads. It is used to load gravel here and there. It is used across water, sewer, and the roads department.
We have numerous elk skin and deer skin gloves again. Now, in the past, the chairman has told me that was addressed, or not chairman, I'm sorry, Terry, I meant manager. He has explained that that was addressed. We've got it again. I think at this time the board needs to address it specifically. My recommendation would be to fire everybody that keeps buying products that we can save a lot of money on, but I would like the board to decide how we're going to move forward with this. There seems to be shopping sprees going on when I look at some of this.
Let me explain what I did within the last 2 weeks. I sat down with Donnie. We ordered a dozen medium, large, and extra large gloves, leather gloves, right? A dozen of each. Said from now on, we're going to pay it's $8 is what it costs for a pair of leather gloves through by the dozen. We're able now, since it is safety equipment, we can tie it into our safety grant, so it's only going to cost us $4. So what I expressed to Donnie is if he gets down to 2 pair of gloves, we need to come back, order them again. So that way we keep it. I can understand the problem with the gloves is if you're out there doing a sewer line and you're pulling that hose with leather gloves. I know we use latex gloves when we're doing it, but also sometimes we don't have the ability. The latex gloves will tear up or whatever. So then they put on leather gloves. And after you worked all day in the sewer or 2 or 3 times with them gloves in the sewer, you need to throw them away. It is not worth the risk if you have a cut or something that you end up having. So I have addressed it. It is put into a plan now as to how we are going to handle safety equipment, as gloves, as boots, as rain gear, whatever we need, that we order it. It is ordered for this reason in a bulk, so that way we can turn around and also use our safety grant on it. Because right now we need to use up, what was it, $2,500 before
a little over 3,000 before next March.
So, and we got 20,000 in there
Total.
So this way we can keep up on our safety gear and go that route.
My problem is not with safety gear. My problem is not shopping and getting stuff like you just said. You were able to buy the gloves at a much better price. Mm-hmm. We also have in this same set of numbers nitrile gloves for $14.99 a 100 pack. Now I know for a fact that last week I bought them at Harbor Freight for $5.79. for the same nitrile glove?
I don't think so. 'Cause
I do think so.
I went to Harbor Freight,
Well,
there was
yeah,
no gloves there.
You may have done it a couple weeks ago, but Harbor Freight actually donated all their gloves.
I've got all my receipts.
I do understand I myself understand.
Doesn't make a difference, you can't be lost for half that price.
The point is, they weren't shocked. Now, we also have the same thing, if we're gonna talk about Harbor Freight, not gloves, is cutoff wheels. And we all know that the price here for cutoff wheels is more than double what they can be had there. You're not shopping. These people are not shopping under you. How do we fix the problem of just, oh, we got money, like you said, we got $2,500, we got $3,000, let's just go spend it. Let's maximize that, is what I'm trying to do.
Any questions on that, guys?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to pay the bills.
I have a motion to pay the bills. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion? All those in favor of paying the bills, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Pay the bills. Financial report.
Financial report, you have the standpipe there for the last 3 months, where we're at. It's still staying right between 0.025 to 6. Yvonne has March. If you look at March, we are at the end of March, we're about 27,000 in the hole for golf. We're at 32,000 with the sewer plant. We did have a big payment that we made in the sewer that, if you notice, it has been slowly decreasing from January to February to March. It's part of that for our operations. It's spread out throughout the year. Otherwise, our administration, we're in line, recreation, we're in line, roads, we're in line, we're still in positive, and this is not having all of our revenues in at all. We're actually very slow in our revenues coming in for taxes, right, Yvonne? We're not in the same as we were last year for revenues coming in.
Yeah, we should be on track, because we got a big payment in March for property tax.
Okay, because
Did they extend the property taxes? Is that gonna affect us any? Did they extend the payment period for us?
Did they?
They did, yes.
So
And
that's gonna affect.
they're waiving fees and I don't know, some other revenue that they said could potentially impact us because they won't be collecting as much in the fees area and I don't know.
Yeah, but our property taxes will still be.
Oh, property
Yeah.
taxes we get, yeah, what we.
By the end of the year, we'll have it, but it's not that big jolt that we get right at the beginning.
It's gonna be spread out.
Yeah.
So, but she worked on these all weekend and got them to me Monday afternoon. That's why they weren't, and I sent them out as soon as I got them on Monday. So.
Any comments, questions? Okay, moving on.
Okay, operation reports. I have golf shop activity report for 2019 March rounds. We had 521. March this year, we had 618. Our revenue for March of last year was 28,000. This year for 2020 is 24,000. But we also closed completely due to the virus deal, March 27th, and cut totally off operations.
Well, missing 4 days of operation there.
Yeah, which were fantastic days
Yeah.
too. Due to we had forced to close the golf course down with what was a more promising month with revenue. We have received new cards for upcoming season. Looking forward to getting back to operations of golf course by at least April when they lift the stay-at-home order. which they have done that. We have guidelines. They can pay by credit card only. One to a cart unless you have proof that you've been quarantined together like a man and a wife in a house, then they can ride in a cart together. They cannot pick up the flag sticks, so we put noodles in the bottom of the cups so that the ball will go to the cup and bounce out. There's all kinds of different rules. We have to close the restrooms in the clubhouse, but we can open the restrooms out on the court.
Okay, but they want us to wash our hands all the time, but they want you to close the restrooms.
We can't have water. We can't have water out on the course, so people have to bring their own.
You're not supposed to be within 10 feet of each other.
And you're not supposed to be within 10 feet of each other. Which, if you play with me, you're not going to be close to me at all. Because I'm going to be out the turn someplace. But that's how the pro side we're starting on here. As for the maintenance side, greens, it has helped Mark get the course in excellent shape because we were able to water during the day when nobody was playing, or to keep people off the course, or try to keep them off the course. So they went ahead and aerified greens. But the next time, 2 by 2 inch spacing, double verticat, top dressed, sprayed with fertilizer, wetting agents, plant growth regulator, plant oils, pigments, mowed as needed 1 to 2 times per week. Greens aerified operation was done with all volunteers. Roger Lowell, Mark Vecchio, what's his name? Used to be the manager here at one time. Tom Banks. They all went out and helped, and they've been helping Mark do all of this. We haven't hired any seasonal except for the only guy, which is Rusty, Sid, who helps with maintenance of equipment and things like that. So Mark's kept all of his out. Irrigation back nine started running March 24th. One head was stuck on, replaced. Front nine started March 3rd. Problems, had 12 wildcats. It's a whole different system over there. They fixed on it. I keep on having him write down what his man hours on that front side for future use, that if we do look for grants or whatever to get that replaced, because it's a very old system and it's a different type of system. Current irrigation strategy is to irrigate to break dormancy, fix and find irrigation problems, maintain overall plant health. Efforts are made to not over irrigate, as that will lead to increased mowing and maintenance. Of course, maintenance, tees, approaches, fairways are being mowed on as needed basis. The majority of mowing operation has been done with volunteers, as I said. Parks and Rec, we are beginning to ramp up for our busy season, preparing our mowers, trucks, irrigation system, everything from normal service to fixing things that have broken on our aging fleet. Mowing operations will need to begin soon as everything is greening up and starting to grow. The baseball season has been placed on hold, but we are hoping to salvage some of the season. We are monitoring the situation before we begin startup at the pool. The sidewalk has been installed to the new door at the rec center. We plan to add 2 electric sites at the campground next week, and also add power and lighting to the gazebo. That's Parks and Rec. Now for water, wastewater, Gary's report. Cold Springs was not on the line the entire month of March. Skid 1 filtration pump has been rebuilt, and contractor has been installed, and the plant is online at this time. The Beckwith plant produced 15 million gallons of finished product. This is the amount of water that was pumped to storage tanks. The city built 4 million gallons. The difference of, you're looking at 11. Lost to bad meters or leaks. Wastewater plant averaged 390,000 gallons per day. This is just below the maximum flow rates of 400,000 gallons per day. We are operating on 2 basins, waiting for a blower for basin 1. Rick has been doing a great job at keeping plant from flooding into the lagoon. During the month, we had a large SOS. The crew was able to cut roots.
To cut roots. I should have spaced that a little bit.
Yeah, you kind of got me there. It was a leak that was down by our shop that it backed up and ended up running into our plant parking lot. So we had to do some cleanup there. We had to buy some lime, spread it out to absorb for that cleanup. They were able to find the roots and cut them out during the month. We had a large, let me go down here, return backflow into sewer, 75,000 gallons approximately, showing the need of jetting at this point of April 6th out to 7 days. The plant flow has been over 400 gallons per day. We hired our temporary pulls in. Donnie's at this point got them trained last week into changing meters out. They replaced, I think it was 40 meters, Donnie, right?
System that the board put through this last month, I did get a basic map with the layers. That whole GI system is coming. They told us to be about a 30 to 40 day window.
Hey, Donnie,
Yes, sir.
your mic keeps cutting in and out. Is that using a different mic now, or?
It's the same mic that I switched to.
Huh. I don't know what's going on there. Go ahead, continue. Sorry.
Okay. The GIS system. Had some needed some backup information for the backwash project. Parts are ordered. I'm just waiting on the floats. I have the jet valve and all that. As soon as I get them floats, we're going to jump into that backwash tank and get it up and running. Shipping has been sporadic at this point, fire stuff, so I'm hoping to see that part this week, so we can jump in there early next week and get that taken care of. The wastewater plant, in addition to what Jim was talking about, we had a blower motor go out. That was ordered 3 weeks ago. Right now I've got 8 new taps requested. 5 of those have been paid, so we should be receiving that revenue, I would say, the next 2 weeks on those 5, and 4 waiting in permit.
Did,
Yes, Director Cook.
Before I ask my question here, Donnie, is it possible for you to switch to your internal microphone on your laptop? This other microphone is just not working.
I'll switch back to the one I was using earlier.
You got Bluetooth?
Yeah, can you use your internal microphone?
Is that better?
Yes.
I just switched mics.
Yeah, actually, we can hear you really good now. We'll see if it drops out.
Okay.
Let me add to Donnie too, is we also ran into a problem with the guys that we hired. We need to get them shots for hepatitis shots, which we tried to get them lined up last week, and with this coronavirus, all the nurses are not giving them shots until this is over with. So we're looking at a game plan as trying to get these new guys installing meters and get them comfortable so that way we can get the guys that are Jody and Joe, get them started in the flushing side until we can.
Because they gotta get the hepatitis shots
first before they can start.
Yeah, the health department is two issues, though. 2 to 3 weeks ago, that we need a month shots, scheduled shots again. So we're in the second, into the second waiting. So I'm hoping in the next.
Use internal mic, you're gonna have Bluetooth headset.
Split everybody up and work on both projects at once.
Donnie, I can't see your picture. Are you wearing a headset?
No, I'm not.
Okay, do you have a plug-in microphone?
I do not.
Okay, thank you.
But I will get it ready.
Yeah, because it's still doing it.
I'll get back to my question. On this water report, we have been informed of the 4.5 million gallon loss, but this 11.3 million gallons is really concerning. Is there any accounting for this 11.3 million gallon loss?
No, there isn't.
Way further than our 4.5 million.
Well,
We've had this for the past few months, over 10 million.
we did have a break up off of Decker, about 2 weeks ago. This break, I know it probably was 1-2 million gallon loss there.
Possibly. It's so hard to judge.
Yeah. With that break, we fixed it. I know Neil showed up, Harry showed up, and they seen the problem. As the pipe went up, every joint was either half glued or not glued. And so as we kept on going, Donnie, we just decided at that point, let's keep going until you run out of moist soil, which we ended up replacing almost 200 feet of pipe.
Oh my goodness.
Put in a new valve and a new hydrant on it while we were doing it, because that was the end of the line. The end of the line, there was no plug. It was basically what we ran across on another
Was it
job.
open?
They had a plastic bag over the end of the pipe and poured cement. That's the dog.
Who did that, Donnie? Do you know? I mean, it's old, I'm assuming?
Bob Decker.
Oh my goodness.
And I understand the
But that
law.
wasn't part of the leak.
I'm looking at it differently. We bill 3.9 and we lose 11.3. That's almost 3 months of billing
Yes.
out the door.
Yes.
And the last number I got at 4.5 million, I know was an average, but are we looking at this every month now? What are we up against here? Are we going to be at 4.5
We've
million?
been over 10 million for the past 3 months or so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
I'm
what we're
not
looking at.
going back to the 4.5.
And that's what we're looking. We drove lines. I drove lines. Donnie's drove lines. It is not coming up, and it's like this leak that was there. I don't know how it it surfaced, but there was finally a break, because that line sits in layers and layers and layers and layers of rock,
And the rock is keeping it from coming up.
keeping it
And
coming
it's
up.
shoving it down.
Well,
And it actually, it could go all the way to
the creek.
the creek and you wouldn't even know.
It probably would help camp.
Well, because you can go along that wall down there, along the creek, and you can see all kinds of water. Little waterfalls that come out of that wall down there by the creek.
And that's.
And for all we know, it's water up above being leaked out to the pipes coming down, working its way down.
Is Donnie still available? Donnie, are you there? I know some lines are shut off in outlying areas. Are we for sure all of those outlying areas are shut down?
To the Graneros area. Those valves are also monitored, and the difficulty with the upper loop of Graneros is there isn't a hydrant to turn on to verify. What we'll do is we'll stick a meter, I'm sorry, valve key onto the key, or onto the valve, and we will listen to it to see if there's any sound running through that valve. And at this point, the last two times I've done that on both valves that feed that area, there is no sound of moving of water. But I would say yes, all for the most part,
Do you have any other suggestions? Donnie, do you have any other suggestions of finding this missing water? We're overloading our system in producing water. It's costing us a fortune to produce.
Outside of taking some money and investing, or not investing, but having a contractor, a leak study performed, I think we could pick a spot and try and isolate and prove either there is a leak in that area or there isn't a leak in that area. We've investigated the aspect that we're seeing an increase in the sewer plant. Does that directly correlate to the water loss that we're seeing on the water distribution side? The numbers do not correlate. So we're looking at pre-process for the sewer issue, as well as we're leaking, which we did have one 3 years ago that was leaking directly, a water leak was leaking directly into the sewer. That was fixed. We have sent the guys out and surveyed manholes in the entire city, looking for that aspect again. So I think we need to head down the road of having a leak survey done. Gary and I have talked about, in conversation, hey Gary, do you feel like the leak is more in this tank area or another tank area? And him and I both have our thoughts on it, but neither one of us can prove to each other 100%, yeah, we think it's in this area. So I think we're dealing with a multitude. There's definitely going to be dug up in the recent couple weeks. eye-opening aspect. If that was their standard of construction back then, we got a lot of problems. We got a lot of the Jet 5000 needles comes in.
Well, it was the 70s. I was born then, so yeah, we probably got a lot of problems.
Thank you, Donnie.
Donnie, just one quick question before we move on. Is there any way of us maybe putting together a way of isolating areas of the system, working with customers? I mean, I don't know. You're going to have to tell me whether I'm way off base here or something. But maybe isolating sections of the system, working with customers to shut their water off for an hour or two, to try to see if we can find areas that it's not holding pressure, that's losing water. Because if it's leaks like what you found there on Decker, I would think that it would leak out very quick.
You know, I think in some areas that is possible. We are limited to the infrastructure's capabilities. And since the 70s, I've come across a lot of areas that valves are either broke open or broke closed. We've lost a loop. So I think I could go through and pick some areas where that is a viable option to do. Citywide, no, but I could probably come up with try to put a number to it, say 40% of the city. I think we could do something along those lines. I would have to verify some of those validating stuff with miles to. I'm not opposed to that idea. We're working with a gravity feed system based on pressure zones, and pressures are different in certain areas. And then you go 2 blocks down the street, and your pressure is going to be higher or lower, depending if that's uphill or downhill, where your pressure zone is. So we would have to make some, I guess,
They could make a huge mess.
time take some pressure readings to try and figure out what the average is for, say, a week in that area, and then try and isolate it and verify the pressure is holding or not holding.
Well, if that's something you think might be viable, maybe put together an idea on it. Just a suggestion.
I like the suggestion, and let me do some research and see if it's viable in some areas.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, guys? Okay, moving on to citizens input, right? Or I'm sorry, I guess I gotta read my chairperson's statement of conduct and demeanor. In order for the business of the board to be conducted in the most effective and expeditious manner, it is necessary that all persons present maintain a demeanor of civility towards the board, staff, and each other. Conduct that appears threatening or aggressive will not be tolerated. Shouting, speaking out of order, or the use of offensive gestures similarly are not acceptable. Such behavior shall constitute the forfeiture of your right to remain in attendance and may, as a point of order brought to the board's attention by council or any board member, including the chairperson, result in your being asked to leave the meeting by the chairperson, or upon your refusal being escorted out of the meeting by the proper authorities. Okay, moving on to citizens input. Do we have any citizens input?
No. Do you have anything on your panel?
Yeah, there's, Bill, did you put down your name?
Yeah, I was gonna talk about
Nothing no today?
No, there you go.
Okay. So attorney's report, anything?
Nothing.
Okay, agenda items. Let's see here. Resolution 08-2020, electronic meeting during emergency situations. Do we have any discussion on this?
I have discussion.
Yes.
One of the things that needs to be added to this, and we can clearly see that there's difficulty in understandings over this at this point. And I would highly suggest that a line be put in. This is my suggestion. I'll make the motion later if need be, but we're just discussing at this point. And my suggestion would be that all votes be a division of the House so we can tell who's voting how.
Okay, I have no problems with that. Any Terry? He was talking about, did you hear that part about the division of the house?
I'm sorry, I got it for just a minute.
That's all right. Bob was talking about, he was suggesting that, in our resolution, that from this point forward, while we're doing this, that we, that all, votes be done on division of the house. That way there's no confusion on who votes what.
I think with some of us remote, that's a wonderful idea.
Okay, Harry, how about you?
And as I said, I got it for just a minute. I did not hear the resolution itself.
No, we haven't started a resolution yet.
I haven't made a motion because we were just discussing.
Yeah.
Then let me finish the discussion and I'll be happy to have that.
Okay.
I think he had asked Harry and Harry hasn't responded.
Harry hasn't responded. I don't know if I lost him or not. Harry? Oh, Harry, there you are. I think I muted you.
Hey, don't mute me.
Sorry. I was trying to figure out why Donnie was dropping out, so I do apologize.
Okay, so I think division of the house is a good idea.
Okay, not a problem. Any other comments on this, and we'll make this into a motion, if one of you would.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adopt resolution number 8-2020. Resolution authorizing electronic meetings during emergency situations with the addition that the board conducts all votes during this electronic meeting by division of the House.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion, Greg.
Terry seconds it. Any discussion on this, guys?
The president can run it from his house, is that correct?
Yes, I got,
Okay.
yeah, we were talking about that. It's gonna be, well, he's gonna have to write the resolution for us to actually adopt it.
Yeah, well, if we're going to go that route, then we need verification that this is going to be done properly. I don't mind having one or two to contest it, but at this point, we can't see a way to run this properly because even we can't hear it properly here.
Well, we just need to make sure somehow after this meeting is ended, we need to verify that we can access this meeting, pull it out of the cloud, and that it's working.
Yeah.
So, okay.
There's also the other change that board members are allowed to convene in here, and public will be only allowed to take part in the meeting through Zoom.
Yeah, posting the address is the Zoom internet address.
So we need to amend, it's not going to be this resolution as written.
No, so that's what I'm saying.
So should we, just question here, should we table this resolution so you can rewrite it?
No, you can say with these, but we will come back and make it official at the next meeting. Yes. You don't want to table it.
Okay.
We can table it until the next meeting. That's the proper way to do it.
Yeah.
Be tabled to the next meeting.
Table to the next meeting
With these
considerations written in.
Okay.
Okay?
But the important thing is the chairman doesn't have to be physically, he can be in the house.
As long as he's attending through this Zoom,
Yes.
Zoomy thing. Gotcha. So do you agree to tabling it then? You agree to tabling?
I'll make a motion to table until the next meeting with proper adjustments made and discussed.
And is that all right with Terry?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we will table this until the next meeting. We need to do a vote on the table, don't we?
Yes.
Okay, so division of the house then, guys, we'll start with, we'll just do it the way we said here normally. So go ahead, Harry. You'll be first every time.
Yes.
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 Okay, so this is going to be tabled pending the revisions for next meeting's approval. Okay, so water plant upgrade, to Profibus?
Profinet from
To
Profibus
Profinet.
to Profinet.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move to table this until the next meeting when we get proper numbers. Not all the numbers are here, they've admitted that they haven't even included electrical yet.
Okay, so I've got a motion to table this till the next meeting. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
Yeah, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion, guys?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
my concern with this is, so next meeting we get the numbers. Each of us think they're too high, too low, or just right. Are we not going to repair the capacity of the water? I mean, I can't understand what the delay will do. Yes, it'll be more exact, and I understand that, but if we're, I can't remember the exact number Donnie gave us, but if we're down to 4 feet of water, are we not going to fix it? Because
Well, I think we're refilled now, but we've gotten down to 4 feet. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah.
So we're refilled now, but we had gotten down to 4 feet before they had fixed
I
it.
mean, it happened 2 days in a row, but if I understood it correctly. So are we not going to take any?
Do we not?
I mean, I like accurate numbers as well as the next guy, but you know, the brakes are out in the car. I'm not going to fix it until I know exactly what it's going to cost.
Exactly.
Any other?
I'm not on this board to write blank checks. We have no project. We have no project information other than we want money and we want it for this. There is no completed project. We should never, ever write blank checks. If we have an emergency, that's one thing. We are not in an emergency situation at this time, and we have gotten through what they claimed was an emergency, and was told that one of the plants was offline. Why don't we get the other plant back online, or is it online?
It is now.
It is online, so we now have
We're
a
up there.
backup system. So we're not in the dire situation of just giving a blank check.
Bob, that plant can produce 60 gallons of water a minute, maximum. Maximum. It takes me all winter to fill that 3 million gallon tank without anybody taking any water out of it at all.
Then why do we need it?
Huh?
Then why do we need that plant? Let's shut it down. If we've got
And
to
then
have
you have
people
no
over there,
emergency
if we don't
backup.
need it, then shut it down.
You have no emergency backup without that.
Okay, that's what I just said. We have emergency backup.
If I have that plant running.
The question, I have is that the thing they're not asking for the 10,000 part yet, they're asking for the cost for the parts and all the brain work and stuff to put things together without electrical part yet. This is just, getting materials, right?
But
And then the labor back installment. So the next meeting, we can approve a budget for the 10,000 or whatever it's gonna be for the electrical part to complete the project.
well, the way the motion is written, they're asking to upgrade it, and basically it's a blank check for them to upgrade it. The way I'm reading it.
Well, you could put a price limit on it too.
We don't know what the problem.
We don't know what the price is going to be. That's their is the problem.
But
To me, anyway.
You can put it at 50,000 right now. And the
How do I get
electrical,
that number? How do I arrive at that number?
well, you're looking at 48,780 right now. Is what.
Honestly, we haven't even bid the other.
We haven't bid the electrical line. Like I said, and I'm saying, I'm taking a guess on the high end as 10,000.
I'm worried about the guesses that have been wrong on every project.
Did you have a question, Bill?
No, I have a comment. I mean, if there's no planning, I'm not trying to be critical of you, there's no planning. I mean, if I was to go back in time to one of the companies that I had, every project, I ran a construction company, I worked with HW Houston, I worked with a lot of different people doing stucco at EBIS and that kind of stuff. You better put your numbers together. You better have your project plan put together. You better know exactly what it's going to cost. You better know when you're going to mobilize. You better know how long it's going to take you to put it on the wall, because if you don't get it done at the end of that period, they're going to start fining you because they have a date that they have to deliver that building. And if you can't meet that record, you're going to be in big trouble. And I'm not hearing where we have a complete plan of how to do this. We're just throwing little pieces at it. And that, that gets costly when you start a little piece here, a little piece there. So if we're trying to upgrade this plan, why don't we step back and create a plan that's going to take us here, here's what we have, here's what we want or need, and figure out all the steps in between to get there before we start doing anything. That's what I don't understand.
Okay, so we have a resolution.
No,
Did he not ask to table it?
yes, I did.
And he seconded it? Yeah, you seconded the motion, correct, to table this until we get further. So do we have anything else to discuss on this before we go to vote, or any amendments? So at this point, we are voting to table this to next meeting. If that doesn't work, then we'll take the issue back up. So division of the House to table this until next meeting, and he comes back with full figures on what this is going to cost. Harry, yes or no to table it?
Yes.
Yes to table it. Bob?
Yeah.
Terry?
No.
I'm going to vote yes to table it.
Yes.
So it's 4-1 to table. So please, if you please, next meeting, bring that back with our plan. Okay? Okay, water lease, moving on to the next issue. Agenda item, water lease, Fleming and Gutierrez.
Mr. Chairman, I move to take no action on these leases as I feel that they do not meet our legal standards.
Okay, so Bob at this time moves to take no action on this matter because it doesn't meet our legal standards. Do I have a second to that? I do not have a second to it. Motion dies. So let's discuss this again, guys. Water lease, Fleming and Gutierrez. Any comments, questions, concerns? What are we going to do?
So I'm looking at it this way. Either we tell them, no, we are not leasing water out to them, or yes, we are accepting it. That's all I need is a yes or no. Are we going to accept
We can't cut some.
a lease?
But we're not cutting
I would-
anybody off.
What we need to do is we need to have, we don't have a lease. This is the lease. So, what we need is a lease, or appropriate lease funds that they would entertain.
Mr. Chairman, again, I'm going to go back to Colorado Water. I'm not sure that you have the right to sell that water if it's going back to agricultural use, because there are people downstream that have water rights.
Well, and I can't address that. I don't know if anybody here in the board can address that, which would cost legal fees.
Right.
If nobody else is going to make a motion, I will make a motion that we tell them no.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. That's all I
Any
want.
discussion on it? and I'll explain my position if you guys want my position. The reason why I say no isn't because I'm trying to be mean or anything else. It's just because I don't have a clue as to whether or not we can actually do this. And I'm really not getting any answers from anybody in the room that's telling me that we can legally do this. So if we can't, and we don't want to spend the money on a lawyer, which I don't want to spend the money on a lawyer, not over $100 lease, then I'm going to tell them no. And if they want to spend the money, you know, if they want to cover the legal fees and all that stuff and bring it back to the board, then we can entertain it at that time.
Well, that ought to be part of the motion.
If they want to bring, if they want to,
I've already seconded his motion to say no.
I'll amend it real quick. I'll amend the emotion, or the emotion. Here we go. I'll amend the motion to tell them no, pending if they want to pay for legal fees to make sure that we're doing this correctly. Do I have a second to that? Okay, then we go back to the original, which has a second. So,
I think that makes sense. Let them be the ones who come to us and ask for something that just costs an arm and a leg to do.
Yeah. We have a motion and a second on the floor.
so were you gonna second my amendment there, Harry?
Yes, I was.
Okay, well then we seconded my amendment.
But I mean, put in their shoes to come to us.
Yes, they've got to come to us with their money, and they got to figure it out and bring legal proof that what we're doing is right. Because nobody here in this room that I'm hearing can tell me what we're doing, that any of us know what in the world we're doing.
Mr. Chairman, please note that if they bring a legal response, we're required to verify that legal response with our legal counsel, and we're back at the same point of legal fees. We can't take their.
But we're not combined by their price.
I understand that, not the price. If they bring you a legal response, how are you going to answer their legal response?
Well, we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it. I mean,
Part of course, you say the legal response, and part of that legal response needs to include appropriate price of water, or lease fee.
but I don't have it.
If they come back and say you can legally sell it, how do we verify that? We must then get
So
our
that
lawyer.
verification is all on them.
We can't take their word or their counsel. When you hire a lawyer,
Okay.
the lawyer only speaks
Hold on.
for that person.
Hold on. Okay. Holy moly. We'll amend this to say no, and they've got to verify to our satisfaction at their expense for all attorney's fees,
That I'll second.
including ours,
I'll second that.
to get it done. If they want it bad enough, they'll do it. If they don't want it bad enough, they won't. But I myself don't feel comfortable, and I don't know about any other directors, but I myself don't feel comfortable giving them a lease when I don't even know if I got the legal right to give them that lease.
And I don't want to pay the lawyer's fee, so I'll second it.
So we got an amendment, we got a second. Any other discussion, guys?
So, you wanna rescind your motion, your first motion.
No, he amended it.
We amended. So the motion on the table is that we tell them no, and if they want to spend the money to satisfy all legal requirements, theirs and ours, okay, so they're responsible for all attorney's fees, to show us that we have the right to lease this to them, okay, under Colorado law, then more power to them, because if they want it that bad, and we've got the right to do it, then let's do it.
Motion on the second.
Okay, so we're calling the question. Harry, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
I vote yes.
No,
No. 4-1. Motion passes. Okay, so what do we got here? What's the next one here? property proposal we got. What do we got there?
That was,
Yes, sir.
Since I put that on the agenda, I would like to remove it. No need to waste any time on it. The rest of the board was pretty clear how they felt about it.
Okay, so you're making a motion to remove that agenda item. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
You'll second to remove it. Call the question. Harry, in favor of removing it? Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Terry?
you can vote.
Terry, you in favor of removing it?
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay. Motion, agenda item removed. Anything else, guys?
yep. CCA.
CCA, what you got?
Turn the page over.
Oh, God.
My knot is getting tight.
Okay.
Why do you think everyone got the plug?
What else you got, man? Talk to me.
Okay, review of CCAC. You have first one, I believe, on the way of, I have them in there. Let me pull it up.
The top shed.
The tough shed on Chappie Drive? Hey, that's over by where I'm building. That ain't my property, is it?
No.
No, right past your house.
Oh, okay.
Okay, the tough shed, like I said, biggest concern was where they wanted to place it, was next to the fence. They were waiting for an answer to, they need the storage, I guess, and they wanted to know whether they can get a tough shed put on their property. But like I said, the biggest problem I have is that it's too close to the fence. It needs to be
Yeah, it's gotta follow county guidelines, it's gotta follow covenants.
Is this a permanent structure?
yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it isn't, it's still gonna be 5 feet away.
Yeah.
It's still gotta be 5 feet.
Yes.
Minimum, yeah, it does.
Mr. Chairman, I have discussion on this just a moment.
Yes, right in.
James, has this been staked?
No, it hasn't been.
Okay.
So that, I said,
Will you make sure that they stake it, so you know where those stakes are,
Yes.
5 feet?
yes.
Thank you.
Okay,
Move to table this until the next meeting.
the 4554 Chappie Drive,
Yes, sir.
I have a motion to table this one till next meeting, basically, so he can make sure it's staked. Is that what we're doing here?
Stake and
I'll
meet.
second that motion.
And it's seconded, we got a motion to table this till next meeting to allow the property owners to state the location. We have a second, any discussion, guys?
Yes, I walked there in that area, and it's inside that fenced area, and it's a chain link fence around it. And if I read your report, they need to have it done quickly because Tough Shed's gonna come down and build it there for they're gonna have to clean out a house of one of the parents. And they're gonna use that as a storage building right there. We can make sure, I mean, I'd even have to make sure it's stayed 5 feet away from the house or where they're putting it back there. Cause I think it's essential that they get in the house as soon as they can because they gotta clean this other house out because they're in a nursing home or somewhere.
So are you saying, Harry, that it's time sensitive, that they would not be able to wait 2 weeks?
Yes, if you read their report, when I looked at their sheet, it said in there that they wanted to get it done as quick as possible, because Tough Shed won't take long to build it. It's just gonna be set on a skids or something. But it's in the backyard, inside a fence. And all we have to do is make sure it's 5 feet away from that property line.
So
I don't know if the fence is on the property line or not.
So my question to you, Director Cook, is could we amend that to where it was, we could approve it pending the staking and him verifying the
And
staking?
that, you probably could, and I'll make a statement on that. But on our very first one that we approved, you wanna set a precedence of not, they knew their timeframes. And this has to be done properly. If we can bring it back, if they've agreed to it, that's fine. But that this statement says,
No, I do understand that. I also understand that lots of people don't necessarily understand the rules as good as most, because I was one of those people for years. So, but would you amend that? No. Okay. So we have a motion on the table to table this till next month. So we'll need to vote on that first, unless I got an amendment. Okay, so the motion is to table this until next week after they've staked it in 2 weeks. Sorry, table this for 2 weeks. Division of the House. Harry?
No.
yes,
Terry?
Yes.
I'm going to actually say no on this one.
No,
Okay, so it fails. Do we have anything else on this one?
I'll make a motion that we approve this pending that they verify that that shed will be moved 5 feet away from the fence.
So if they stake it, and who's verifying it?
Manager, this manager will verify it.
Okay, so you're making a motion that we approve this pending them staking the location and the city manager verifying. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second it.
We got a second on that. So, questions, comments, go right ahead.
I'm stated, now what?
Call a question.
Okay. Call the question. Division of the House? Harry?
Yes.
Bob?
no.
Terry?
I'm okay with that one too.
Okay, I'll say yes.
Yes,
Okay, motion passes.
Now, who verifies that the shed's put where you state?
Well, anyway, moving on.
Who verifies? That's not in your motion, don't you?
Okay, the next one is the garage, at 3158 Armstrong Court. He has a plot plan of where he wants it. He does have both lots. The lot line was vacated on it. He is asking for Bighorn Sheet Buildings Incorporated. So it must be a metal building.
Yep.
It said it is going to match the color. Probably won't match the texture because this texture is stucco on his house, but it won't match the color. He's looking at carport 2 on the side of that building. That's why I said I wanted to bring this into you as to
What's the height of the building?
it is under the height. I think it was at 12 foot.
I seem to be missing something.
12 foot at the eaves, 12 foot at the feet.
12 foot at the eaves. So the height. Now you have 2-story houses in there.
2-story houses are different
Big.
than single story.
What's the covenants is what?
I don't have them in front of me. And I don't have a verified copy.
You're gonna have to go to the IRC in order to verify, or the Title 17, because I believe it says ancillary buildings cannot be over 12 feet tall. So you'll have to look at that.
I'll have to look at it.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but Title 17 isn't our concern. Title 17 is the county's concern.
Right, but we.
Our
What your
concern
responsibility is to the other people in the area that covers, to ensure that this
That's right close to
community
yours,
is
Greg. It's right close to your house, where you live now.
Yeah, which isn't here.
which is part of placement.
Most of the covenants state that if it's not listed in the covenants, then we use Pueblo County. I don't have a covenant to verify this.
This is actually where we needed.
Right.
there are very few covenants that actually address height.
They're not addressed in the covenants, they're addressed in Title 17. The covenants say you would adhere to Title 17.
Yes. Does he already have a building permit from the county?
No, he hasn't.
He can't.
He hasn't done anything. He went through us first. He said before he purchases the building, he wanted to make sure it was okay and stuff through architectural before any of that. He did have the survey that he did because he wanted to get his lot lines and everything all within his lots.
So until the board is able to, this is gonna have to go to the architectural advisory committee.
Yeah.
This is what they're for basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is gonna have to go to them first before it can come.
Actually, the board can do it, but the board needs in front of themselves
Yeah.
a certain
But
contract.
in interest of time, I would recommend that we send this to the advisory committee and allow them, I mean, that's what they're there for, to do the research.
Okay.
And bring it to us.
Mr. Chairman, I move that this be reviewed by the advisory committee at this time.
I have a motion to have it reviewed by the advisory committee. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Division of the House. Harry, how do you vote?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Yes here.
Yes.
Neil? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to the next one.
You have, that was in the center. 4281 Chaffee Drive. They're looking at putting a modular or a pre-built prefab home. Looked into it. It meets area for the lot. They do have a building plan with it. There is what they're looking at.
Which one is this one?
This is the second one. No, it's in green section,
In the green section.
section 2.
The permit says here modular foundation. Does it say house?
When they set these homes, I used to work for a company that set modular homes, and they have a foundation that has to be, I mean, it's, I still have to be approved by the county. In fact, now this is almost like a stick-built house.
Yeah.
I went past that area, instead of turning toward brick house, you take a right and go over to the right, and that's where this is. There's a lot there, real close by there. But I think it still has to be codes for the foundations, have hurricane clips property, there were all this other stuff with it.
Right.
But
Harry,
looking at the plot, it looks good on the plot, setbacks are all there.
Harry, I agree with that statement. What I'm saying is, the permit that they filed with us says modular foundation. It does not say home.
Yeah, because it would be a modular foundation.
Plus a home.
Can I make this comment?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, modular home is not a stick-built home, it's not an IRC home. And it has to go on an engineered foundation. And you should be looking at the engineering plans that go with that before you do anything. That's part of what you need to see to review. If it's not set on an engineered foundation, it is no,
Well,
it's not, that's, you got an engineered foundation?
They do have a foundation there.
I have a
Who's
foundation,
stamp-
but I'm
who's-
not
where's
seeing
the
the
stamp on it?
engineer's mark.
No, that's not stamped. So that, of course, that'll be a stamp.
Somebody drew that up, that's not
No,
an engineered
it's-
foundation plan.
It's there. It's there.
It's somebody's personal drawings, yeah.
This is, it's done by a manufactured,
Right.
it is a drawing.
Well, if the manufactured home, and I've done this, if the manufactured of the home, if they have their engineer stamped on it, that's what you have to do. But I didn't see a stamp on that.
Yeah, I know, I see that.
They'll have to have a stamp before they get permitted even from regional.
And they.
Yeah, regional will give them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, they will.
they need
Oh,
to
they got it.
include the
Oh,
home.
yeah, they will, it'll be classified as mobile
They
home.
need to include the home on their application. Their application is only for the foundations.
Once again, this one probably should be sent over to let them do some footwork.
As well as, maybe we need to consider where we are going to allow, on into the future, where we're going to allow manufactured homes.
Well, we can't.
Everywhere. Everywhere.
Yeah.
That's
You
controlled by
can put
Title
them
17.
everywhere, you can put a stick-built home.
Okay.
As long as the wheels are taken out from underneath it, it's
Only if covenants specifically state no manufactured homes.
No, let me clarify that, please. In Pueblo County, they use the term mobile
That's right.
and
Yes,
manufactured.
and manufactured.
Mobile can only go in 2 units.
Yes, I'm not talking about
Other
homes,
ones,
I'm talking about manufactured.
right. They can
Manufactured
go
homes can
any
go
R.
into any R unless the covenants specifically state no manufactured homes. The covenants is the only thing that can override that, and none of our covenants
Yes.
say
Yeah,
no manufactured. Is there one?
There's one.
Okay, well, there is one, I stand corrected. All of them that I have seen, because trust me, I looked into this. All of them that I have viewed do not state that.
But it doesn't state that either, because there's, homes that less solid than what this, plan is, because I used to sell, somewhat fresh homes from, Berkeley,
What's the width on it?
and this is a pretty good.
Yeah, as long as it meets the minimum requirements for square footage and setbacks,
Yeah, 29
Yeah.
foot.
then that's really what we control, as long as it meets our covenants.
Seems like I
29.
remember reading, maybe it was in the covenant, that post-architectural design was part one of the, and, I don't know what else. But we can't restrict it because it's not manufactured.
No, no. No. We can't restrict it because of that. So,
We can restrict it because of color.
Texture.
color, texture, and
No.
placement.
No, you can't.
Color
You
is
don't
a
have a
different-
color palette in your covenants, nor do you have a texture palette in your
Yeah.
covenants, so there's no restriction.
No, you're right,
In the
you are right.
covenant, there's.
I've done thought all these.
There is in the covenants, but we don't actually have, he is correct as far as we don't have any. The covenants say we have control over that, but we don't have anything out there for them to follow. Therefore, there's nothing for us to enforce.
Some of them do list what type of site they are not allowed.
So anyway, should we refer this one back, guys?
Absolutely.
What are you thinking?
And ask for a correction on the application as well. I move that this be referred to the, review committee and the application be, include the home.
Okay, so I have a motion to refer this to them to the advisory committee, to the CCACC for review, and to include the home on the application. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got 2 seconds. Okay,
I think that's go ahead.
that's all right, not a big deal. We got an amendment and we got a second. Any conversation, guys, on this one? Okay, so division of the House, Harry?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, guys, moving on. What else we got here? Done lost track.
Actions, I'll give you an update. Nothing's been done yet on all checks, so I just talked to him again last Tuesday. Told him that he was given until July 1st, and it needs to be, I would document anything going forward. I give the board a review every month, and this being the first meeting of the month, I'm giving my review that nothing has been changed.
Okay. Old business?
AOS,
Can I make a comment on that?
Yes.
I just wanna go back over, per the statute, the AOS fees, they need to be calculated and set at the time of budget, which is usually July, August. And it's the amount, based on the amount expected to be paid in the following year. So in order to get the amount paid in the following year, we've got to do a look back to 2019, that's why I have those calculations. One of the calculations, like I said earlier, billed versus paid. That was the question for the attorney. We got that answer, so it changes significantly. One way we're over collecting, we need to know what to do in that situation. One way we're not collecting enough. So we had to get all of that established and get these numbers first. Then we have to, get the number of accounts because that's part of the calculation. So those numbers are also in that spreadsheet. So all of those numbers have to do with the calculation. And we got some of the attorney and auditor questions answered. And it's a good thing that we did that because now we are actually under instead of over. And I just wanted to make that statement so it's clearer than before.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else, guys? Any other questions on that? Nope. Okay, moving on to old, let's see here. Got old business AOS or new business? Any new business?
I have new business.
Go ahead.
I've got a note from a constituent and I passed it along to Jim, and come to find out, we've hired a truck to do some hauling from the gravel pit. It's not board approved, under the resolution that, on a expedited road, we set the fees for the expedited road based on us doing certain work. And this work was done outside of that. Now, the number I had was $500, but I think you updated me when I walked in the door that you actually spent $1,000. I have two concerns. One is, was there a bidding process?
Yes.
Okay. And the second is, the board did not approve spending our expedited fees for somebody else to build the road.
Okay.
Somebody else didn't build the road. What it was with the $2,500 that we collected for the expedited road, which was Cherry Lane down here. We didn't have to put in culverts. All we had was the fee of the survey for the road, which was $500. So it would have taken us 16 hours with our dump truck back and forth to build the road. Whereas we were able to hire a valley dump and build the road within an 8-hour period. I felt that it was a responsible way. It took wear and tear, took two guys out of that would have been working there. It took it down to one guy where Donnie ran the blades. He was able to level the road, put it in the 8 hours while the guy was hauling, where I had our other personnel putting in meters and doing what else they needed to do.
So 8 hours cost us how much?
$1,000. Oh, for
no,
with our truck. Who's to say? For the employee,
8 hours, we know what wages cost.
Yeah, wages wise, we were around $200 at the high end.
And the cost of the machinery.
Yeah, now you're talking our dump truck.
No, your grader.
Well, our grader was gonna be there anyway.
Cost accounting, you
Yeah.
gotta put the value of your grader.
Yeah.
The only thing we saved by doing the $1,000 belly dump was a couple employees for 8 hours, correct?
Yes, well, 16 hours.
Or 16 hours, 2 employees for 16 hours, and we saved the wear and tear and the operation of the dump truck.
Yes.
The grader was going to be there regardless
Yes.
of what happened.
Yes.
So the grader wouldn't be in cost savings.
Yeah, but now the grader was also,
I'm sorry, Donnie, you broke up there
so the grader was there for half the time as well.
for half the time as well, so there'll be a little bit of cost accounting there. I think the biggest thing though that Director Cook, correct me if I'm wrong here, sir, is addressing here though is that maybe this should have been brought to the board before it was done. I mean, I actually think I may have agreed with the decision. But what does the rest of the board members feel?
So my question, I guess, is why should it have been brought to the board?
Because we have a resolution that set those specific fees for specific things. And we did not include in that outside contracting.
So I think there might be splitting hairs there. I mean, I think the best use of our men, we're really short with everything right now. And I think the best use of our equipment and the manpower and a belly dump would make a lot of sense.
Well,
And
why
I
don't
think
you,
that-
Harry,
Yeah,
why don't you amend the original resolution to allow this?
But Bob,
then we can amend it, but I didn't think it would be an issue because we're given so much money to build roads, and I didn't think when we got
That
extra
money-
to expedite something,
Well,
it would have to do something that we'd have to tie our hands to that.
and I'm not entirely too certain, I'd have to read the resolution, but I'm not entirely too certain the resolution is written that specific, that it,
That we have to tie our
we
hands
set
to. That we
prices.
get easy for, I mean, that we can use kind of common sense and use our people to get things done, expeditiously. I have no problem with that because that money was, they gave it to us to get the road done.
No, that road was priced in a specific way to offset our cost.
no, but Mr. Cook,
But we
our
didn't
cost,
see that though.
our cost could include hiring
It did not include that.
but it could.
It
didn't
could,
prevent
but
that.
it doesn't.
It didn't prevent it.
You just did it without checking anything.
The resolution didn't prevent it.
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
as I recall the discussions way back when, this was going to generate income for the roads department. I'm not so much concerned whether belly dump did or not. I'm concerned whether you have in place the proper cost accounting to see if you spend more or than you took in, or if you actually made money doing the process. I'm not sure if the road department's an enterprise or not, but it should be, and if it is, it should be trying to make money. And if the most cost-efficient way to get the job done was to use a belly dump, then I would agree with using a belly dump. If it wasn't, if what happened is you based your price at $2,500 on this cost accounting over here, and now you're doing this cost accounting, which is different, and this is costing you $3,500, then I think you need to revisit what you're going to charge to redo for that section of road. Because unless we're going to buy, and that was one of my arguments before, unless we're going to buy more equipment, we're not prepared to build roads. One grader is not going to build a road. And I made that statement in many meetings way back when. So I would have to agree that, if you're gonna get it done, you do what you have to do to get it done. But you need to have your accounting in place so you can tell whether you're charging the right amount of money for it or not. And I was questionable about the amount of money being charged at that time if it was gonna be able to be done. Thank you for listening.
No problem. Anything else, guys?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Terry.
part of, I also wish I had the resolution itself in front of me, but short of that, I'd just like to say, well, what we should probably be doing is thanking Jim for legally, ethically, and morally saving Colorado City some money.
Yeah, if he did. I agree 100%. I guess the only comment that I would have possibly is I kind of am split on the fence here. I think maybe some cost accounting whenever we do stuff like that would be kind of awesome. Just so that we know we're going down the right road.
Yep.
Because I agree with Bill also, if the accounting don't make any sense, then it doesn't make sense. And I realize that sometimes you're being pulled by internal sources,
Yeah.
that they don't got enough time. But if the money don't make sense, the money don't make sense.
The thing that I looked at is that cost of a culvert would cost us $1,200. That's what it cost us on the last one. Whereas it took us 2 days hauling all of that to get that one.
We also do not use culverts on every road.
saying is,
Yeah, he did.
is it beneficial? Is it beneficial when we do have a situation like that, where we don't have to pay for that culvert? Is it beneficial for us to hire somebody to haul it? To make it cost effective?
Cost in front of us. Well, never.
Well, and then we don't need to micromanage everything. I can't believe I'm saying that right now, but we don't need to micromanage everything. But just for your,
if you wanna go back to the original part, I wanted $3,500 for the $500.
yeah, I know.
I'm not cutting prices, but on the other hand, we have to be reasonable and we have to make money at it.
I understand that. But
Anyway.
But it has to be expedited too.
So, yeah, any other actions we want to take on this, guys? Any other comments, questions? Do we have any other new business? Any correspondence?
Yeah, just what I said about the advertisement.
No executive session, and, okay, well, by golly, do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Let's get out of here, guys. Thank you. And Terry, this is your problem next meeting.
You have to get in the portable
So you can see it.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah. Jim, you said you, put that out to bid, I want to see the three. that you did.
Okay.